Go live, or we're live.
You got coffee?
Oh yeah. Let me start some music here.
I love it.
Hey, you crazy cats out there and the wide world out there. We're coming to you live from the Cleveland, Tennessee studios here with Mr. Samuel Bradley Fulton.
That's me.
Is that you? Is that you, bro?
You got the right number here, buddy.
Oh, I started it over. Let me just turn this down a little bit. Oh yeah, that feels good.
Should I open my YouTube channel browser so I can?
Yeah, let me send you this link, or you probably got it up. Just make sure you got it muted.
Let me see here. I will get it muted so nobody is listening to any double talk.
Any double talk.
I don't have the YouTube link actually, Jack.
All right. If you just go to the YouTubes and click King's Wild Project.
Oh, I thought you were talking about you were sending me an exclusive link. I'm an only child, Jackson. I want to be exclusive. I feel a little insecure now.
That's funny.
I didn't share with siblings, Jackson.
You can share with siblings.
This link has been shared before. Oh, it says live now.
Yeah, there you go. That's the one you want to click.
On that.
You want to click that one that says live now. That's the catch.
Oh.
That's the cat's pajamas, Brad.
This is exciting now. Now I can see myself.
Yeah, I love your little, when you go into this little accent. You know who you sound like? You sound like Hal from 2001: Space Odyssey.
Well, I'll have to rewatch Hal and ask for some royalty checks.
You know who Hal is,
Oh, wait,
right?
Hold on, I wasn't born yet.
Yeah, exactly. But you know who Hal is, right? The computer that takes over.
I do know who Hal
Okay.
is.
Good. You probably know the person who did the voices. I always say something like, "Oh yeah, me and Jimmy back in '72, we were best friends. We grew up together. We were painting graffiti in Los Angeles together back in the '70s."
Yeah, dude, it was just all over the freeways, bro. Like in 1978, and then I came out in March of '79.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I was reading up on our favorite guy, Andrew Dougherty.
Yes.
And it's I know how into astrology you are. And
Oh, I'm totally into astrology.
I know our trip to Sedona was cleansing.
Cleansing.
But, he was born March 15th, Jackson. He's in the club.
Oh, what were you saying? What'd you call us? A Pisces or something like that?
Yeah, we're Pisces. We're sons of the ocean, Jackson.
Oh, is that Pisces? Those the two fish?
That's right. We
And
are
then-
aquatic. So if somebody says they're a pescatarian, please stay away from them.
All right,
And
so
today's coffee is brought to you by True Grit Concrete of Fort Worth, Texas.
True Grit Concrete. This
My friend Josh Collins is the CEO of True Grit Concrete, and he mailed me a Yeti tumbler with their logo on it.
nice.
And I enjoy my coffee here in that, Jackson.
Mine's my coffee's actually King's Wild Coffee that we're gonna release this month.
Well, King's Wild Coffee is going to have to sponsor my next Clip Joint Live.
That's right. All right, so people can see. Can you? Everything's looking good. People are here. My crew's coming on.
Are your regulars here?
Oh yeah, of course. They're all here. They're all here.
We don't want to work without Griffin.
Griffin will be here. He'll be here.
Okay.
No, he's good. He'll be here. But I got the regular crew up there already chatting in the little chit chat.
You know, last time you did not have coffee, Jackson, and I think that it bothered you.
It did bother me.
I know how it is.
No, I'll get real crank if I don't get the old coffee cocaine in my veins, man.
Very, very true. I mean, it's the only thing that I have an addictive personality for.
All right, so what are we doing? Are we designing playing cards today, or what are we doing?
We are going to do our second pass after our much of our discussions over the last couple of weeks, and we're going to nail the back design for King's Wild Clip Joint.
No, yeah.
And it's a great, anybody out there who's interested in designing cards, either just as a fan or wants to get into themselves, they will know soon enough that revision is the only key to longevity of great design.
Who says that?
Well, Jackson, we both agree on this. It's a philosophy of the Pisces, is that we revise until there's no more revisions left, and then we settle with perfection. Oh wait, hold on.
Wait. Wait a minute. I don't think that I can't remember the last time I revised anything.
You know what? Jackson and I, everybody are very different. Jackson has a great pottery analogy.
My crew has heard that one for sure.
They've heard that.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's true. There's a truth to it. Where I'm from a different school, where I will sit for 5 years on something and nitpick it, and I need to be more like Jackson.
Yeah. Hey Brad, is there any way you could turn your mic up?
Oh, the volume up on the
Yes.
mic? Sure, I can.
Because I'm much louder than you.
Can you? Is this better?
Keep going.
Does that work better for you?
Yeah, I may just turn my music down too.
Can you? Did it actually increase the volume though?
I can't really perceptibly hear.
Is everybody out there hearing me loud and clear?
I think they are.
Okay.
I'll just keep my music down. That'll help. Okay.
Is it suitable for you now?
No, you're definitely suitable.
Okay, good.
I would definitely suit you.
Well, you do suit me.
So would you consider me a suitor?
Definitely.
Okay.
A suitor. I would consider myself a dowry type of person.
Okay. So if I asked your parents if I could court you, they would say yes.
You're not going to get much, but you will definitely get at least some Bush's fried chicken.
Bush's fried chicken. All right. So where do you want to start? I've got Illustrator opened up because you had mentioned. Let me open this back design up that you had talked about that you liked, and then I'm going to open up the original one.
You know, the first clip joint is not angular at all, and I want to go completely away from the original clip joint. I don't want anything hanging over your head in terms of a creator where you're tied in with genre or convention or what happened before. This is as if nothing happened before, and you and I are meeting for the first time. It's 1946 in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And we're going to produce a playing card deck for Fulton's clip joint, which is off 6th Street. And here we go.
I want to find that. Let me find that.
It's a good starting point. Now, we stray out of the lines, but it's a great, because, you know, my grandpa always called LA the city of the angles. Where everybody had their own, you know, angle or grift in the old days.
Yes, there it is. I'm also going to open up the Scarlet Tally Ho back design because you specifically talked about that as well.
It's one of my favorite back designs of all time. You know, for everybody out there, I spent the last 10 days just going over every single deck Jackson ever did. And of course, there's so many great ones, but the Tally Ho backs they're timeless to me. When somebody finds them in a time capsule, you know, in 40 years, they're going to say, were they, you know, of course, printing technology, they'll say it was modern, but the design is timeless. And that's what's important to me. I like things that withstand.
Nice. Okay.
The Scarlet Tally Ho it's unbelievable to me.
All right, I got that one. I got that. First of all, my Illustrator's working correctly. I've been having the roughest time with Illustrator these days. Not working correctly.
Why is that?
I don't know. They did a recent update about a month ago, and ever since they did that update, it has just been giving me problems.
I know that you use Photoshop more often.
I use Photoshop 95% of the time. But
you know what's funny is Dan Phillips, my buddy who did the first clip joint. He's an Illustrator like expert. He's been using it since the 90s. He knows everything about it, and I'll have a problem with it, and I'll text Dan, and he'll say, "Try it tomorrow. It might work." And I'm like, "What?"
That's totally true.
And he's like, "That's the way it is." And he was telling me like one of his options was grayed out. He was going nuts, and he's like, "I just shut down the computer, started it again, and it worked." That's Illustrator. It's always been the same way.
That's exactly what I did. I made sure that, because I knew that we were going to go into Illustrator. I mean, we're in Illustrator right now because that Scarlet Tally Ho back design is in Illustrator.
That's interesting though that design was done in Illustrator, and it's different than your other work. Do you think that affects your process?
It does affect my process. like when I did the Scarlet Tally Ho, when I did this back design, uh, like there was no sketching involved. It's just me doing what we're doing right now. Is I'll just open up Illustrator, and then I'll just start designing. There's no sketching, no rough draft. There's just I just go, and then that's that design. I mean, I guess you could say that I sketch in a way that's sketching an Illustrator in the sense that, you know, I'll edit things and, you know, change things and stuff like that. But there is no like, oh, let's do a little pencil sketch before we start this kind of thing with Illustrator.
Yeah, it's interesting doing these because the delay on YouTube is so bizarre. Where like right now I'm just seeing you, the
Mm.
scarlet back is just coming out and being overlaid over the dye, the
Mm-hmm.
USDCC dye.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and it's almost better in a way because I like to just kind of see. I want to be out of the party. I want to just contribute to the atmosphere and then what we talk about and just see the final thing.
Yeah. Did I wanted to show you this? I want to show you some other back designs that I've done. Um, so I did this. You know the old Tally Ho fan back, right?
Yeah, of course I do.
So this is the back design that I did for. I did this before. Let me see if I can find it. I did this before United States Playing Card Company put the lockdown on the Tally Ho brand, and it's actually what became. If I can find it, it's actually what became. And it's what became the Americanas. But I originally took. What's up?
I love table players and I love the Americana.
Let me see here. Where's it at? So what I did is I just redid the classic fan back, and all I did was basically take it and clean it up, and then just draw it again. Basically, is what I did. And this was the back design that I did right here. Oh wait, I have to remember that your visuals of what I'm talking about is super delayed, correct?
Yeah, right now I'm seeing you go through like 20 million folders. And
Yes.
I think you just typed in tally.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't understand the YouTube delay really. I think that the people in Silicon Valley need
Well, the reason why it's so delayed is I have a setting that I can adjust the delay, but it's kind of the price that I pay for the delay is the less delay, the lower resolution, the video quality. And because I'm doing so much stuff that's, it's based on me drawing in Photoshop.
I'm seeing the fan back now. It's funny revisiting that. I first saw that deck, I don't know, 20 something years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very unique. I mean, that's obviously Dougherty then, right?
Yeah. And I just wanted to show you I think it's important just because you can see how I evolved this design. So I went from this design, which is basically me redrawing basically verbatim the original back design and just cleaning it up. And then I went to this design. Let me see here. That's not it.
Did you learn anything, retracing the steps of Dougherty and the design? Did you kind of get inside of his head doing this?
A little bit. You imagine how, well, mm-hmm. It's just interesting what was the little, I call them like gerbles, but it's like little ghibli bits. It's just how to see what was popular and what was because I find that all the ghibli bits you can see, there's like these similar strains of all these like little extra things that they would add. And so this then I don't know if it's caught up yet or not. Can you see the ones that have like the yellow circles in the corner?
Yes, that just came up right now.
So I called this this is the King's Wild tally ho back. Um, and this is how I kept pushing the designs and took out the birds and stuff like that and gave it a little bit more modern twist.
And you took away like the tree branch element.
I took the tree branches away, then I took the flowers and that kind of thing. And then when I sent this to the United States Playing Card Company, that's when they ended up saying, you know what, we're not going to let you, we're not letting anybody do tally ho reworks anymore. We're just going to let them do color changes. And I was like, well, that's very, very sad.
But what is it? What is it? I mean, when you look at it, is it and also how far do you take it with what is a copy of a tally ho versus what is just standard design elements?
Yeah, I understand. But I mean, like with this, I think there's elements of this, like especially the center circle with like the four things. And I'm reminding myself why I wanted to look at this because we were talking about angles and X's
Yes.
and how visually strong those shapes are, and this fan back is just loaded with like X's and stuff. And I thought
Yeah, it's
that.
a real I call Dowerty's composition kind of like a push and pull.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a really great balance of angles and circles, and like if you look at the shamrock back, I don't know what the real name of it is, but the one with the shamrocks, it has it looks like dancing.
Yeah.
It has such emotion to it. I mean, his compositions are. If anybody's interested in playing cards, you have to look at Dougherty. I mean, Dan Buck and I last week were speaking about the antlers, which he did like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, moose back or whatever it was, and it's the antlers were kind of came from looking at those, and it's like I said to Dan Buck, I said Dougherty created the world, we just try to live in it.
Yeah. And one thing, if you look at, even if you go back to the this original fan back, one thing that it does a really good job of is it has a variety of scale. And what I'll do is, and I'm doing this ad lib because I think it's good to like dissect what they did to like inform what we're gonna do, and maybe give us some ideas of what's going on.
Absolutely. Actually, I would call your version of the fan back. I would call it the roulette back. It
Mm.
really reminds me of an overhead view of a roulette table.
Yeah, I see what you mean. One of the things that when I look at this, like first of all, you've got the X's. I mean, you've got let's see. I'm just going to do this where you can see it really well. So you've got all kinds of X's in the design. You got like this X. Well, if I was in Photoshop, I could do it really easily. But so you've got like this X here in the middle. Oops. I'm just going to do it on a different layer.
You know what, this, Jackson? I just set up a secondary monitor called an iPhone, and I can see it with no delay.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I'm learning about technology, Jackson, as we speak.
So you got these two main X's. You've got this middle X.
Sure.
Right here, and then you even have these subliminal X's in the vines.
Yes.
Right there. And then even though these aren't X's, these fans, because they don't, I mean, they do create more X's visually because they make like a greater square shape that your eye follows those lines to.
Absolutely.
And more X's like this. And then on top of that, they'll throw in, so like subliminally, you're getting all of these X's that are straight and angular, and you get squares and stuff like that. But when you get down to it, the only shapes that are actually physically there are not straight and angular at all. They're a bunch of circles. So you've got this circle. Turn this around.
I love watching you block this out. I mean, this is like when I first started, in art school, you would take the Mona Lisa, or the Last Supper especially, and you would look at the perspective of Da Vinci, and this is how you learn.
Mm-hmm. So you've got the circles. So it's like a push and pull, um, in like these tricks that he's playing with these different shapes. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna put all these X's and stuff in here that are really angular, but I'm gonna put them in there in a way that I don't really put them in there. I just kind of hint at them in your mind. It's a term called closure in design, where you create something that looks like something, but then you let the viewer's brain fill in the blanks. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Absolutely. It's almost like Hitchcock's Psycho, the
Mm.
shower sequence,
Yeah.
where if you survey people and you ask them about it, they say that they saw this happen and that happen, which none of it is if you look at every
Mm-hmm.
cut.
Yeah. And, a great example of closure. I was in, let me try to think. I think that I was in, I think, middle school. And middle school for me was like fourth grade through, it was just fourth and fifth grade, really. And I remember this guy, this illustrator, and this was a pretty influential moment for me artistically. I can't remember his name, but this illustrator came to our school and did like a presentation. And I just remember like watching him and seeing his like paintings. He did a lot of very kind of Norman Rockwell-esque paintings, very classical illustrator style stuff. And I remember that was one of the moments where I was like, man, I want to be an illustrator and that kind of stuff. But one of the things he did, he was talking about closure in his talk, and he drew this very simple drawing, and I'll draw it, but it's a great example of closure. I'm gonna draw it in Photoshop just because it's easier.
Well, it's interesting though that at that age, at fourth grade, you had somebody actually talking about a concept that we're dealing with today.
Oh yeah, and the thing about it is like, I remember like it was yesterday, and I can't remember what I wore yesterday, But
I wear the same thing every day, so I don't have that problem.
But I remember this. Um, I remember this drawing like it was yesterday, and I even and my kids will kind of joke with me because they'll be like, "Oh yeah, draw that drawing, Dad." Like if I'm talking to anybody about art, my kids will be like, "Oh yeah, Dad, draw them that drawing," and they call it something, but I don't want to give it away because it's part of the kind of like the punchline.
Secrets.
So basically, and basically closure is like, it's also an idea of like you draw something without actually drawing the something. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
So what it is
suggestive art.
Yeah, suggestive art. So it starts out with a box like this. I'm going to fill it in. And then we're going to cut. We're going to cut a big piece out of it like this. Like here. I'm going to cut a big piece. And then we're going to cut another piece like this. And then, why can't I zoom in? Oh. Now my Photoshop's not working correctly. Of course. And Photoshop never messes up.
Well, it's
There's always a first time for everything, right?
Absolutely.
Let me just
Wait, is it a coffee cup?
1 second. Let me save this. And then the last thing, I'll just add a circle at the top. Yeah, you're right. It's coffee cup.
That's unreal.
But I never drew a coffee cup. I just drew 3 shapes. I drew this circle on the top, the little hole for the handle.
And if you drew the other hole for the handle on the other side, it would look like Mario and Nintendo. The mustache and the eyes and the nose.
It's me and Mario.
I love Mario.
And you can do that with anything. I mean, everything has, and the good thing about that is like just breaking down things into their most simple shapes. Like
I love that coffee cup thing though. I'm looking at it now. I like that. It reminds me of these things we studied in art school called notan designs, which were the Japanese notans, where it's like the shape pulled out of, like, if you have a black square and a triangle, the triangle gets pulled white on the black and then on the white black.
Yeah. But like even of that, like you can like if you're doing like a human face, the human face exists of you've got two, usually have 2 large kind of shapes for the eyes. Then you always have a shadow for the nose, and then you have a shadow that is cast on the upper lip, and then the chin.
Yes.
And then it'll catch up when you see it. And then you'll maybe have some shapes for the chin bones. The chin itself.
Well, yeah, it's funny because I'm looking at it and you can see the bottom of the nose, the bulb of the nose.
Yeah.
But it's not drawn.
But it's never the drawing is never there. And then I can hint at things like, okay, I'll put his ears in there by just putting like 2 little blips that represent where his ears are casting shadows. And I can, hit his neck. I can do it. And see, like, all I have to do, like, if I wanted to draw his neck, I could draw the lines of his neck. But if I wanted to actually draw the neck, to not draw the neck itself, but draw, like, the shadows or the shapes, so I could draw, like, the cast shadow of the neck. And while doing that, I also draw the chin itself, because that cast shadow is gonna be affected by the chin, his chin. I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's like I remember the mind-blowing explosion when I was 18 and my art teacher said, nothing in real life has an outline around it.
No.
And you're like, wait, of course it does. Oh wait, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know how to draw.
Yeah, nothing has an outline, and everything. Everything. What's up?
Looks like Steve McQueen from Bullet.
It does, doesn't it? There's a painter that I love, and let me see. His name is Richard. I don't know how to spell his last name. Schmid. Let's see, painter.
Is he a modern era painter?
Kind of. He's 86 now, but he is the king. We were talking about edges. He is like the king of edges. Let me see if I can find any of his. But he'll do these he'll do like these portraits and stuff. Let me see. He does lots of floral stuff, but he'll do these portraits and like landscape paintings. He's got a horrible website because it's hard to see anything. Let me see here. Let's see if I can do.
Is it like one of those Web 2.0 or Web 1.0?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Let me see if I can find.
Isn't that a sign of a great artist, though?
Yeah, but like this is an example of like how he does his portraits. I don't know if it'll catch up.
Yeah, I can see him.
But like, there are no hard edges, and the one of the things that, I don't know, this may be a tangent, but one of the things that new artists do that really hurt them when they're like, I just want to draw like realistic and realism, that type of thing, which is interesting and fine. But what always ends up happening is they they're like, why does my picture look like a drawing? Why does my picture look like a drawing and it doesn't look like a real thing? It looks like a drawing because you have too many lines and too many hard edges.
Yes.
And
Look
it's
at
not,
that portrait.
yeah,
Look at that portrait is amazing of the that's coming up now as the I don't know who it is. Looks like a composer.
uh, this one?
It's like I don't know. You would think it was Mozart if he didn't draw
Yeah, I
everything.
got you.
All these.
Yeah, all of his stuff is just, but I really looked at him. I really, studied him, just trying to like learn how to do edges. And I went through this period. This was like 2006. Let me see if even the website is still up.
I have to say that your art history is underrated. Your art history ability.
Well, I think it's um, I definitely think that so I mean, I think that the history is part of the huge part of it. So back in 2009, I did this thing called the painting experiment, okay? And it was kind of similar to what I'm doing now, to where I had never really oil painted before, and I wanted to learn how to oil paint. And so it's just like, okay, for I'm gonna try for 30 days to get up every morning at 5 o'clock and paint a 5 inch by 5 inch oil painting. And I did it, and I ended up doing it for like 42 days. But and I did them in order, and these are the paintings that I did. I did like a
So
bell
you
pepper.
did like you tried to learn from Schmidt.
He was one of the ones that I was really looking at because I was having a hard problem. I had never oil painted before, and I quickly learned that oil painting was all about being able to control the edges. And even like with these paintings, you can see me get better with each painting. And I would just paint regular day things like stupid stuff. And it's an old website. This is for everybody in the chat, but it's an old website, and some of it doesn't really, um, the site may not work very well, but I'll link it in the chat.
Oh, this is fascinating.
So I'm going in order chronologically, and I would just paint whatever I found, like salt shakers and stuff like that. Uh,
Paintingexperiment.com.
mm-hmm. And this was before YouTube. I was doing it and I was really trying to do like shapes, and like everything is kind of like blocky, and it was just me trying to think about the shapes and the values and everything. So like apples.
You know what though is like I used to go to a museum by my house called the Bowers Museum in Santa Ana, and they have a lot of amazing like California history and paintings and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. And the most fascinating paintings were maybe McCloskey was the artist's name. They were just like these oranges that were wrapped in like wax paper, or like
Mm-hmm.
they were just old paper wrapped oranges from like
Yeah.
1920 something,
Yes. Yes.
and you could just stare at it all day long. There was like different sets of oranges wrapped in paper,
Yeah.
and you couldn't walk by it and not stop to look at the way the light hit the paper.
Yeah. And like these are mushrooms. But then I started getting better because I started being able to like control the edges better. Um, I want to see if there's, here's a donut.
Is that a donut? I was thinking, is that a
Yeah,
donut?
that's a donut. And don't buy these. I know there's buy links on these, but don't buy them, anybody, because I've already sold
Wait,
these.
you could buy them like the actual painting, or did you make prints of them?
No, when I did this, I would sell these original one-off 5x5 paintings,
Now,
and
what was the price, if I may ask?
this one's like I sold them for $50.
Are any available? Is the donut?
No, they're all purchased. That's why I was like, don't buy them, because they've all been purchased.
What? No. Why did you show me the donut one and I can't buy it though? I don't like that aspect of this.
I'm sorry. That's why I'm saying don't buy it, because there's a buy link on it.
Can I try to buy it though?
No, you cannot try to buy it, because it'll just cause admin headache for myself.
It caused
But
a lot of turmoil in the Robinson household.
yes, but these match ones are.
I love the donut. I mean, could you do me like a donut one, and maybe with inflation now, like after the skinny printing, it's like going to be $175.
It may be a little bit more than $175, but yeah, I'd have to break out all my donut painting equipment.
The donut is just my favorite. I mean, you could imagine that, like Los Angeles has the most donut shops in the world, and it's like you could imagine that in an old, like, remember what was it? Edward Hopper, who was
Yes.
it that did the Boulevard of Broken Dreams?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Hopper.
It could be in there. I mean, I grew
Mm-hmm.
up with that, like, a cheap print of that hanging in my house.
Oh yeah. Uh, speaking of art history, I think it's interesting for especially for all the King's Wild fans. Look, here's an Eminem. I did an Eminem. I'll wait for it to catch up. But I tried to paint this Eminem, um, to size on the little 5x5 painting. And one thing that I was trying to really figure out was like if you look at this Eminem, there are no hard edges. The where it gets harder
Wow.
is right here on this dark edge, but as it goes into the shadow, the detail becomes less and that edge starts to blur out. And then you even have like the reflection of the red paint into the shadow.
Now let me ask. After you were up at 5 in the morning and painting these, what happened after? What was your day?
And it's just regular. I'm trying to remember when I did this. 2009, this would have been, I did this right after I lost my job and we had Claire because I was like, I wanted to do more art and I wanted to get better, but I just didn't know how to do it. And I knew that I wasn't going to get any schooling to get me better. So I just wanted to figure out what I had to do. And this is what I did. And I did like cupcakes for my daughters, all kinds of weird
I
stuff.
love the M&M, by the way. It looks like it reminds me of like a raindrop.
Mm-hmm. Now, the last thing I want to show you before we go back to playing cards, because we probably should design a playing card. And I'm about to introduce you to something. Well, I say this only from my own standpoint. What made the thing that inspired me to do the painting experiment was this artist called, his name is Dwayne Kaiser. Let me see if I think it's Kaiser. But he does a thing where he does a painting a day. And he does something very similar to where he will paint these I'll link the website, his blog site. So he does like a small painting a day, and he's been doing this since like 2007.
Wow.
And he'll paint very rough, but he'll just do a painting a day. And I think that I think he's got it like an iPhone app that you can like see all of his. Let me see if I can get to it. But first of all, his oil painting I think is incredible. Like he'll
Do you know where
take,
he's from?
I don't know where he's from, but like he'll do these things. Like he'll do ordinary everyday objects, but he'll like blow them up really big. So like this painting of like this honeycomb jar with strawberry juice is like huge. I mean, it's like 4 feet by 6 feet.
Wait, he's doing a 4 foot by 6 foot painting for a daily painting?
No, though these paintings are his like his studio work, but his daily paintings are like 3 by 5, 4 by 5, and like
I
he'll
like
do
the
like
water with the batch of asparagus.
yeah, but he'll just like pump these out. And I go back to what I talk about that pottery class that I learned. Like look at this painting. I think this is awesome. Like he paints the shadow of this bicycle that this bicycle's casting. He doesn't paint the bicycle, he paints the shadow of the bicycle. And I think that because what his big kind of shtick is, he'll take like ordinary things that are usually not the focus or the main thing, and then he'll create these little paintings. Also, what he does is he does these YouTube videos, and he'll call them painting animations. To where, watch this, he'll paint something, and then he'll make an animation of it. You'll just have to see, and you'll get what I'm talking about. Like he'll paint these. Like he's going to paint a flower, and then he's going to paint the flower wilting in the painting.
I'm looking at his technique.
No, it's like this kind of me. I could sit here and watch Dwayne Kaiser for hours, hours
See
on
how
end.
he painted the background like he did the darker gray to make
Mm-hmm.
the vase pop out.
Uh-huh.
It's always it's the oldest trick in the book, and it's the best way to do it.
Yep. Like he did a so like he's doing a flower, I think, and then he'll paint the flower new, like he's painting the bud right now, the bud of the flower. And then what he's going to do is he'll paint the flower opening up, and then he'll paint the flower dying, and then he'll paint the flower wilting, but he'll do it all on one painting. Like he does like a ice cream scoop where like it's been freshly scooped, and then you can see the ice cream melting. I'm going to fast forward a little bit just to save some time. So like this is a wine glass coming in from the side, and then he'll start drawing.
It's a glass master.
Oh
Look at
yeah,
the light though on the glass.
it's
I mean,
it's
this is
yeah,
like
yeah, and then he'll draw the
come on.
wine pouring as if it was pouring.
What this reminds me of is Rene Magritte.
I don't know that name.
Oh, he's like the surrealist. He did the famous one with like the hat and the clouds
Mm.
and the pipe. This is
Yes,
not a
yes,
pipe.
yes, yes.
If I just went to the Dallas Museum of Art and looked at some of the Magritte paintings they had there. But it's funny that his day job was he painted wallpaper in France. I mean, he woke up every day and he painted the same flower 2,000 times.
Ugh.
And it's the repetition of
Yeah.
these things, and then you get to escape in your personal work if you have the drive to do it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say, well, I work a day job, I don't have any creative juice. Well, Rene Magritte did.
Right, right. So there's the little.
It's unreal.
Look at him draw the drop as it's falling.
He has a rhythm. I mean, it's like it's an intangible. You can't really teach it. He just has a rhythm.
Yes. And then here's
Like
the.
people say, I want to learn to dance, and then like some can and some can't, and it's just intrinsic.
Yeah. Like he's painting the flower opening.
Wait, did he just erase that line?
Yeah, he just painted it out.
Well, he's really Jackson-esque.
Oh
He's
god.
not afraid to.
And the thing about this guy is like he's good because I mean he's been painting, a small little painting a day since 2009. I mean he's got like thousands of these, and he'll eBay every one of them off, and he'll sell them for like $300 or $400 a piece.
It's fascinating.
And so somebody's
got a great way to do it.
yeah, and so somebody's eating the peach. Blah blah blah. I'm gonna fast forward even more, and then you can see here's the flower starting to die and wilt over.
I could see philosophers being really into this because it's almost like the mandala, the impermanence of life, where the Nepalese, monks go
Mm-hmm.
spend hours tapping the sand out, make the mandala, and then they wipe it off after they say a prayer, and they put the sand into a jar, and then they dump it into a stream, and it goes back into earth.
That's crazy. I think that's so fascinating.
It is, and it's really it reminds me of graffiti. Graffiti, you do this massive art on the side of a freeway, and Caltrans, is going to take it out in 3 days, but you just have the urge to create.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why that's we've had this conversation before. That's why it's like I don't it's not that big of a deal for me to like just totally trash totally trash something that we've worked on or that I've worked on because in the end it's just something that's like it can be in the grand scheme of things, it can easily be created again and just started over and not so much revision, because I think there's a big difference between revision and creation in the sense that you could take something and just revise it until the inspiration is dead in it, or you can just keep moving forward, and
Jackson, farmers had two sayings for that. They had a lipstick on a pig, polishing a turd.
Mm-hmm. It was polishing a turd when I grew up.
It's very true though.
Yeah.
It's what you're saying about the inspiration. I design like a playing card box every 3 days maybe, and 90% of them get deleted. But the typography enhancement, just actually this Monday, I was just trying to replicate a CRT pattern just to see if I could do it in Illustrator where it looked like it was kind of vibrating without any effects.
Mm-hmm.
I failed massively, and my daughter said to me, she said, hey Dad, what were all those little banana shapes you had drawn on the computer in Illustrator? And then I said, so what did you see? She's like, I saw you draw these because I drew, this kind of banana shape, and then of course, minimized it and then repeated it. And she said, I saw you just delete like 10,000 little points. And
Mm,
I said, yeah, they sucked. And
yeah.
she's like, didn't you want to keep any of them? And I said, no, they just bothered me looking at the failure of them, so I have to go again. It was an epic failure, and it was a great lesson for kids to learn that, I always tell them it's okay to make mistakes. This is just how life works.
Uh-huh. We were talking about, going back to the that fan back. Uh, Even if you look at like the original tally ho circle back, it's very much a similar. Let me just copy this image so I can pull it into Illustrator. It's very much a very similar style design where you've got X's in a generally the same area. You've got X's, and then you've got circles. So a combination of these angular things, angular X's, and angular, like I would call them, like say plus signs in the background.
I call the middle, they look like knife blades to me. I've always thought they
Yes.
look like knives.
Yep. And so you've got the combination of the big circular areas, the big circular shapes that are not angular, that are not sharp, pushed together with these knives, these sharp things, and then that's what the Scarlet Tally Ho, because it was the first one of these back designs that I did. The whole I call them my premium Tally Ho series, where they're inspired by my girls. They were all originally the original design was inspired by the circle back, and I wanted to create that same kind of idea where you've got a very major circular shape in the center. You have some minor circular shapes on the top and bottom,
Yes.
and then you've got these kind of like plus signs that are created in the background, like you have both of these decks, and then the middle circular shape would always be something that had sharp angles like the knives. And if I let me see here, let me open up some more of these tally ho backs.
I mean, this to me is what, our clip joint will be, is something that I hope someone is opening up in the future, and saying it's timeless.
Yeah.
I love timeless things. That's why I like black and white. I don't like to be photographed wearing green or something. I like things to stay the way they are.
Yeah. Let me see. Let's go Emerald Tally Ho. This was the second one that I did. Let me get the back design here.
Do you know when I really analyzed the Tally Ho, their circle back?
Mm-hmm. When?
Was about 3 years ago, 2 years ago. I worked with a magician named Helder Gamarez, who had a show in LA. I mean, he's had many shows,
Uh-huh.
but we were working on his show and then his book, and he uses the tally ho. So I was photographing these tally ho's. I mean, of course, I've seen them for my entire life and worked with them with everyone else, but I'm like looking at the tally ho back, and I really stood at it, and I said something to Helder. I said, if you look at the composition of the tally ho circle back, if you change one element, the back design doesn't work. It's like boxing off. It boxes off part of itself in the corners. I mean, everything is anti like great composition, but for some reason, it's the best composition in the world. You know
Right.
what I'm saying by that? Like you look
No,
at the
no.
bottom, it's like they box off the flow
Yeah.
of the work, but it works.
I think that's also similar to the bicycle rider back, because you've got, I mean, just the combinations of the scale of items, the scale of objects within the composition with itself, that you like in the rider back, if you make those circles, those two circles a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, it throws the whole thing off. Or if you make that kind of racetrack border that's on the rider back, if you make that a little bit thicker, then it gets too thick and it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Let me see here. Let me get the.
You know what's funny is when in the early days of like D&D, when we were first contracting artists, we would talk to them, and we made a little booklet on how to design playing cards. And of course, the bicycle was there, the tally ho circle back, and I remember sitting there looking at I forget which deck it was, but Dan Buck said, just tell them to make it like a bicycle, but this. And I'm like, well, why bicycle? Like, can't we get away from that? And Dan Buck's like, you can never escape the rider back.
No, I think now it's so. It's been it's so in the mental furniture of everybody.
Mental furniture. That's you know what though. To be honest with you, I mean, of course, the classic. Of course, I like it. But compared to like the tally ho, I mean, to me, I wouldn't play with a rider back over a tally ho any day.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's the good thing and the bad thing is because it's such a. It's because it's like, it's the. I mean, it's the back design you associate with the cards that you buy at Walmart, but it's still a beautiful design. But it's now Times New Roman, which is a good thing and a bad thing because Times New Roman has stood the test of time.
What
But
a great reference! What a great reference to Times New Roman or Helvetica.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, for
I love
sure.
that the black and white one. Which back is that?
This is the Black Diamond Tally Ho. So it was one for my wife, and it was the one that I was like, it's the one that I ended up doing in the Metal Lux, the foil back.
Killer.
So I ended up even taking out one of the colors to where it was just. Let me see here.
It's a prism. It's like a deconstructed prism.
Yeah, it ended up becoming this to where it was just black and white, and
That
the white
is freaking killer.
and the white was silver foil.
Now, when you design these, Jackson, mentally, are you doing it half mirrored or are you quarter in your mind?
No, I do the whole thing at once, and I build it. Especially with these that have circular centers, I'll build it from the center, and then I'll just start building it out, and then I'll reflect things over. But I cannot design a playing card by just doing like a quarter because I want to be able to see, and even if I'm doing it where it's a quarter or just doing parts, as I'm going, I always will reflect it because I want to be able to see. I want to be able to see how everything works together, not just
Yeah,
like.
I was doing it back, and my wife walked in, and she's like, "What are you doing? You can just you can just reflect that." And I'm like, "No, you can't." And she looked at me like I had like lost my brain. She's like, "Why are you spending your time?" And I'm like, "I just want to see if it works." She's like, "There's a simpler way." I'm like, I know, I can't like work that way."
Yeah. So as I'm thinking about this new back design, um,
Yes, sir.
what I want to do is, um, so I'm just going to sketch out here. We're gonna get started here. What I want to do is,
This Jackson, I just want to interrupt you and tell you that this has been one of the most exhilarating 53 minutes since I was in my early 20s learning what typography was. True.
so when I look at this design, um, uh, we've got. Let's see here. Let's dissect it here. Let me just make a new layer so everybody that's watching can see what's going on. I'm gonna do this in yellow. Okay. First of all, cancel. Oh, what happened? Why Illustrator? Why would you do that to me, Illustrator? You stupid program. Okay.
I remember when I was at Art Center in like 1999 taking like typography classes, there was a guy in there named Chesley who was an awesome guy. He was a great designer. He had just lost his job at like some goofy corporation. He was doing like newsletters, and he told me, he said, "Now when you get into Illustrator, remember the word layers, because layer on layer on layer, because you're going to try to grab something and you're not going to be able to grab it because you didn't layer it out."
Yeah. Let me just I want to save this before something crashes.
Oh, yeah, my wife will always come in and say like, "Are you saving that?" And I'm like, "No, what for?" And then like you bring in a JPEG for reference, and then the whole system is done.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you hate when you're like moving something with the arrow keys in Illustrator, and then you sit there and then you watch it move after your hand's been off for like 2 minutes?
Ugh. All right. So I'm going to bring the opacity down on this. So first of all, let's dissect the shapes because we're going to use this dissection to inform us on how we're going to do ours. So you've got this big triangle. Boom. You have that big triangle right there. And then that triangle is obviously, well, it's not obviously. I don't like saying that because.
Well, it's weird because it's 5 triangles and it's 2 triangles, depending on what you're looking
Mm-hmm.
at.
Yep. And also a diamond.
Yes.
So we have the 2 triangles, and then you've got the 2 circles.
It's very Celtic.
Yes.
It's like a pentagram with a Celtic ring mixed together.
Yes, absolutely. And then you've got these weird They're not even, you got these weird kind of elliptical, I wouldn't even call them ovals because they're not really ovals because they have these kind of weird flattened sides. And then to top it off, you've got this football shape in the background.
You know, it's fun. It's funny. You just said diamond, and like I was just thinking, I've looked at this back for 1,000 years, and I'm like, where's the diamond? Oh wait, you know, you lose the shapes.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can do this football shape easily. Yeah. Take this, reflect it over, and then take it.
It's amazing what you do though. Do this every day, and it's priceless. I mean, I don't want to blow you up too much, but it's to get this kind of education is unbelievable. You know, even for me, I mean, someone who's a close friend of yours, who knows you, who knows cards, it's still, it's like it's going to Yale.
Yeah, that's
Like
that's
like you run your own business and then you go to Yale and you're like, oh, I never knew those tax tricks,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And so like here, these are like the basic shapes of that whole bag design. I'm gonna make these black so we can see them now.
My goodness.
I know it's pretty rough, but that's basically, that's the design right there. Let me unlock it so we can see it a little bit better.
You know, I wonder though what Dowdy was thinking in his head when he did this. If he just said, "Let's make it pretty," or did he have some kind of subliminal theme in his mind, like inspired by his?
I think that, I don't know, but I honestly think, that they were just creating stuff that made it, that was, I don't think it was like, oh, I'm gonna block it out and I'm gonna make it look, I gotta do this. I think they just made stuff that was pleasing to themselves, but at the same time they did that from a framework of having years of experience of design. And so they were doing all that blocking out and composition stuff and layout. They were doing it subliminally as they went with all their experiences.
Yeah, it's very true. It's like what did Mayer say, the head of MGM, when he would talk to a young director and they would say, this movie's about injustice, and he would say, if you have a message, use the postal service. I just want a movie that puts people in the seats and they say is great.
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm thinking for this is that we have a mix of these shapes that are in this design plus the mix of this large circular area from the circle back, and then also incorporating these little kind of like corner keys at the end, and also even with both of these designs, like if you look at this design, it has these elements right here at the center on the edges. And I like those. And you can even see those in my circle back.
Which one of the backs are you referencing with that?
The one, your old Daughtery one.
Oh, okay, the 1870 one.
Yeah, and I'll highlight it right here, so you can.
Yes.
It's these things right within these circles. Those two little elements that are right on the sides at the center. And I like that kind of. I like those types of elements, and that's why I kind of added these center pieces here that break the border on this design. And I say that in terms of that's going to be one of the elements that we kind of pull over. So it's going to be a mix of these triangular shapes and this diamond in the middle.
The little elements you're talking about, I love how sharp they are. They remind me of arrowheads in a way.
Yeah.
And I love how sharp they are. I agree. I think that they're one of the elements I focus on the most.
Yeah. And I think it's because they're different, because you've got this long swooping arc, and then you've got these big circles, but then you've got these really sharp diamonds. And then if you look at all these diamond shapes, minus like a couple of them, like these flowers here, and then these two that are on the arcs, all the diamond shapes are either pointing up or down. So like this triangle shape, it's pointing up and it's pointing down, and then you've got like this shape right here that's an arrow, that these arrows are pointing up, and this thing that looks like a little dart or whatever, it's pointing up and down. You've got these elements that are it's a plant of some sort in a geometric shape, but it's pointing up and down. Because if you look at this, I mean, even this thing right here, you know, this is, if you reflected this over this shape, you know, we were talking about closure. If I take this shape and I reflect it over, it's an arrow pointing in a direction, you know?
But look at the element again. It's funny now that I've never noticed this, but the top of the diamond, the center diamond, you know, that you had, it looks like if you're looking up at the front of like the Queen Mary, the mast of a ship, or it looks like the front grille of a Rolls Royce if you were on the ground.
Yes, I agree with you. Are you ready for me to blow your mind completely?
Yes.
What I think it is? What I think it is, and I'll show you. If I take this and draw it into its shapes, I think it looks like the top of the nib of a fountain pen.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, it does. Hey, that's weird, dude. I'm a fountain pen guy too.
Like, I'll show you. And I know I'm going to just show you just so that everybody in the chat and everything can see.
It's called like the feeder.
Yeah.
Well, the feeders are on the bottom, but you know, the top of the nib.
Like, it looks like this to me. Because it's got the split. It's got the split down the middle. Like, here's a good example.
That's crazy.
You know, it's got the split down the middle. It's got that kind of slightly arced flare to it, that trumpet shape. You know? And then you've got this thing, and then you got and on top of that, it makes an arrow and it points up, and then it flows to this thing that's pointing up.
That's funny.
All right, let's do this. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to just block some shapes out here. We're going to put us a circle in the middle. However big it is, we don't know yet. Let's go ahead and knock in our border here.
That is, it's exhilarating, dissecting these things.
One thing I hate, well, I don't hate it, but it's just kind of a pet peeve of mine, is I don't want to say hate. I just don't like it. It's a personal preference. I don't like square corners on designs when the card itself has rounded corners. Does that make sense?
I do know from doing pattern backs that like once you round the corner, you're cutting into something that you had planned to be an even pattern. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I'll see a lot of. It's not a telltale sign because I mean here we go. Here's a Doherty design that has square corners on. The design has square corners on a rounded edged card, and I'm not going to sit here and say Doherty was an amateur designer, but but one thing that especially now, just with printing techniques have being involved, not so much with the United States Playing Card Company, but in terms of like registration, being able to register a card better. And having those borders being able to become smaller, like I've found in the past that if you a good way to spot an amateur card designer is they'll have a rounded corner, they'll have a hard edged corner design on the rounded corner thing. Does that even make sense? What I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think it works. I mean, I do like some hard edge designs. I don't know. I'm not a big, I'm not as corner picky as you with that, but I do think you're on the right track.
All right. Well, I'm gonna be corner picky, I guess. So we'll have the circle in the middle, and I'm gonna take this this triangle shape because I want it to be very, very similar in the size and scale. We're gonna put it right here. But I want to do it to where I want to do it to where the corners, let me just get everything centered up. I want to do it to where the corners, the angles go to the corners like they do here. Kind of like that. And then let's make this. And then let's duplicate this over. And then one thing that I think that this design could be better. Well, this way we're gonna change. This is where we're gonna change ours. We're gonna take these points. Well, I'm just gonna. I don't know what we're gonna do. I'm doing this all. I'm gonna take this point of this arrow and use it as the epicenter of a circle, a secondary circle. See how this one is kind of like, this point is not really at the center of this circle. That's where we're gonna do ours.
Yeah, I love just the blocked out. I mean, it's exciting. You know, I like contrast. I mean, my photography is contrast. Everything's contrasty. I like push and pull.
And then I think one last thing that I want to do is, instead of doing this football shape, let's do a shape that comes off the edge. Let me see. No, I don't want to do that. What if we took this angle? Let me see here. May not work. I just want to try something out. Because I like I like these subliminal arrows that these things create over here.
Yes. Yeah, same here. I love seeing, I love forgetting the diamond. You know, as you mentioned, there's a diamond. Where is it? Oh, it's there. You see it.
And I want to do it in a way that it just slightly breaks the border, because I think that that's interesting to me.
Oh yeah, it's like do you remember the Smoke and Mirrors V3 when that came out? You know, when I saw the first comp of that, I said, Dan Buck said to me, or Dave Buck said to me actually, he said, "Hey, it's a borderless card." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean there's a border?" He's like, "Yeah, there's no defined border though." And I was like, "Huh? Oh, what? Wow." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like the FedEx logo I've talked about
Yep.
before. Like if you're right brain or left brain, do you see the arrow or do you see the B and the X?
Yeah, and that's another great example of closure.
Yes. You know, one of my teachers told me that people who are left-handed or right-brained saw negative space completely different than people who were left-brained.
Interesting. I'm going to take this, delete that circle now, but then have like an inner circle.
If anyone wants to work on like the 20th anniversary of Clip Joint, I'm going to take applications in about 9 years. They have to be left-handed. There's no other way. It's like, you know, 4 out of 5 designers of the Macintosh computer were left-handed, I believe.
Wow.
Steve Jobs had talked about that before. And you know, Jackson, I'm a lefty who was converted to a righty. So I have an animosity toward
really
people, Jackson.
Wow. Why were you converted?
I know you're, what's that?
Why were you converted?
My grandpa did not like left-handers. He was an Old West type of guy, Depression era guy. And he said, "You blank lefties are always screwing up my golf course. You hit the ball the wrong way." And he got me a golf club set, and I, of course, golf left-handed. And he was like, no, Bradley, that's not how you do it. Get over here. Don't be a dummy.
Don't be a dummy.
Don't be backwards. You know, and it's funny how when you're a kid, you're so impressionable, because I'm a very stubborn person. But when you're a kid and you have, you know, an authority figure tell you that, you're like, oh, I better switch it up.
Yeah. So one thing I want to do with this is I want to try with our design. I want to try to create these two big top and bottom triangles without drawing the triangles like Doherty did.
Closure. It's going back to that, the whole theme.
Yep. Let me see here.
I love it. I mean, I'm staring at it. So I'm watching. So if anyone's watching and they're like, "Man, what's Brad doing?" He's like, you know, is he asleep or is he down? I have my phone down below the computer because it's giving me, well, it's not even real time. It's maybe a couple seconds. But then the computer is like about 20-second delay. So I'm going back and forth to see the enlarged image and then seeing the bottom one. So don't think I'm losing my shirt here.
So here's a good example of like what we were talking about designing at quarters. Like the way that my brain is looking at this design is the top half at this moment. And even though it's super rough, I want to go ahead and, you know, go ahead and repeat it over and get it to where I can see what it looks like.
Just killer.
Oops. So I'm going to take this. I don't want this middle line. I don't want these. I'm being a little bit too nitpicky with it. But let's see here. Take this. We're going to rotate it over.
Beautiful.
And then I want to create. He has this. The one thing that mine doesn't have is this kind of like blocky triangle, these 4 blocky triangle areas. And I want to try to create that. And I'll highlight it, this part right. Let me make sure.
But you know what's fascinating is when you look at it now, like, which I love, the middle is completely forming like a center forward Argyle pattern.
Yeah, the three diamonds. Yep.
I love Argyle stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I want to create this kind of like shape here that's yellow, that kind of like corner block right there, just to like more so just to like pay homage to the original. And so what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and try this football shape. I think of the shapes of this design, I think that football shape is my least favorite, but I don't want to say my least favorite as in I don't like it. It's just it's a secondary. It's not my first read, I guess you could call it like that.
Well, to me, the angles are the first read.
Yeah.
You know, of course, it's going to be secondary. And also, you know, I know that you're not a big football fan, so I think that's playing into it. I think we're looking at when we license the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Jackson, and we do that, we're going to have to do football shapes.
When we do that, yeah.
Hey, let's do a Dallas Cowboys deck, though, and just put baseballs in it and see if Jerry Jones likes it.
Yeah, exactly. Let me see here.
Do you own any classic Dougherty decks?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I own a lot of old tally. I own a lot of tally hos. I got like the tourists. I got quite a few steamboats. Was he steamboats?
Yeah, steamboats are awesome.
Yeah. I'm thinking about doing a series next year of just to kind of like be a sister series to the table players. That's just all old redos of old decks.
Well, table players, you know, have a special place in my heart. I want to do a guest table player casino deck for Wild.
I like that. So I'm just trying to get it.
Hey, Griffin. Hey, Griffin's here. We were wondering where Griffin was earlier.
Oh, yeah. I told you he'd be here.
He just said, thank God it's Fulton. Oh, hold on. Wait a second. Wait. Oh, thank God it's Friday, I guess. That was
Oh, Griffin with the jokes. Oh, Griffin with the jokes. All right. Yeah, this is looking, I don't like it.
That looks real, like, so it looks totally different, like with the oval shape in it now.
You mean the football shape?
Football shape. Yeah, it's like now that you use the word football, it's like all I can see is football.
Mm-hmm. It's not bad, but
It's unnecessary. I'm not sure. I'm undecided on the football now.
I mean, we always got the delete button, so.
But it hasn't been Jacksoned yet.
No. Uh-oh. I like that. That's going to be sweet. Let me see here.
Yeah, no. See, it's funny how like you just see shapes and it changes. I love it. I mean, I love the process, obviously,
Oh, also like another shape that I'm getting is an hourglass. This whole thing is an hourglass.
which is cool because it's kind of like a Black Widow. You know, like
Yep.
my friend Juan Luis Buñuel, who's a painter, he did like the Octopus Palm cover.
Mm-hmm.
He painted a picture of my wife. I'll post it up on the Instagram story, but he for her birthday, I said, "Hey Juan, can you paint like my wife?" And he's like, "It's not gonna look like her. You're not gonna like it."
Hmm.
I'm like, "I know your style. Just do like a cartoony thing." And I'm like, "Can you paint her as a Black Widow?" Like as an inside joke, you know, like, oh, it's you know, a Black Widow. And so he painted her as a Black Widow on a spider web, and the face is like, you know, cartoony looking, but it looks just like her
Wow,
on a spider web.
that's interesting.
But it's funny because he told me, he's like, okay, I'm gonna charge you a fee. Just gonna send you the painting. If you don't like it, don't send me the fee. If you like it, send me the fee. And the only way he accepted money was like $100 or like $20 bills taped to paper, and then I would send them in three like rounds over to Paris.
What?
Yeah, that's the only way he would accept money. He was like in his 70s then. I mean, he died when he was maybe 83. He's gone a couple years ago, sadly. But he would like, I was afraid to send all like, you know, hundreds in one thing. So I would do it in like 5 or 6 batches, like taped to copy paper.
Interesting. Why would you tape them to coffee paper?
Just so like the postal people couldn't feel anything clicking around
Okay.
in there.
Yeah.
And then they would just think it was like legal documents, maybe.
Yeah.
And I told him, I'm like, hey man, what if someone steals this? He's like, if someone steals it, then you just don't pay. It's fine. I know you sent it.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. He was an old school painter. I mean, he was like the most prolific painter. He would just sit at home and, you know, paint all day over in Paris. It was just, he would always just send me like his iPhoto library, and it
Oh
would be
man.
like new paintings and stuff. It was just, and he had this amazing painting that I don't know what happened to it after he died. I tried to actually contact his son to see what happened to it. And Diego never responded to me. There's a long history deal here, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a picture, and it was like, it has a mermaid, and it said, the truth about why mermaids never get old, and it was like a shark eating a mermaid.
Huh.
I always just loved it. I always thought, wow, that's great.
All right. Where are my layers at? Okay. I take these, merge them together. Not like that. I'm just gonna take this, clean it up a little bit.
See, now the football goes away. It's like when you see things in flux,
Well,
you
this
can't really like think about it at
this
first.
one little arch that arc, I just duplicated and pulled it over, and when you add that, it reinforces that hourglass shape that the center parts have, and then I think that you lose some of that football.
Man, it's so cool.
Let me see here.
I don't know. I have a good feeling. Like, I mean, I just look at it and I don't know.
Okay.
I love the outer rings, like, you know, toward the edge that make that shape. It's stimulating.
What's this? You know, oh, look at this. One thing I like that's coming out is like these. And I'm not trying to pull a bunch of different historical back designs in here, but one thing I'm seeing
Why
here,
not? I mean, we're history guys. I mean, you got to learn from the best.
look at this right here. This shape right here, that's in red. Well, let me just make it red so you can see it.
But you're one of the only people living who has kind of these skills of the past.
Look at this shape right here. That's a fan right there. Like the fan back, you know?
I see it.
I wonder what happens if we take that out. Let's just see. Let's just duplicate. Let's take these.
It's fascinating watching this happen.
Let's duplicate it so we got it if we don't like it. I'm going to put this on top. I'm going to center this up.
it's funny because like the red or whatever it is, it moves to the back. Like it's funny how it just pushes backwards and everything else comes forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Also,
I love it.
I thought that this, like if I go back and turn it on and off, I thought that that area within the fan was a little bit busy because you had a lot of these, if you think of it volumetrically, a lot of these spaces right here, like this space, this negative space here.
I agree. And negative space, what you learn, anybody doing cards, is that negative space oftentimes becomes more important than positive space.
Yeah. And so like these three chunks were all about the same size volumetrically.
I love that word, Jackson. Can you say it again?
Volumetrically.
Yes.
Yeah. But now you've got, you take that out. You got the kind of a, a little variety in it. Let me see here.
I do like it. I do like that. And I like even without an homage or any other ideas of the past, I just like it volumetrically, as you say. It does kind of loosen it up.
All right, let me see here. Let me just keep looking at it here. All right, let's take these lines out.
It's very it's funny. It's I see Freemasonry
Yep.
in it, which
Yep.
of course I love, and was actually, although I don't need anyone replicating the past of clip joint, because we're with Jackson Robinson, the world famous here.
The world
I do
famous.
like my family were all Freemasons, even in the old country in Scotland, and we have all the gilded Bibles. I like the angularity of their logo.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. I'm going to take this line out just to create different. So I can. Okay. Select this, and this. Then I'll delete this. And that makes that triangle. It makes, like here's what I want to show you. What I just did there. If I take, let me just take this and then rotate it around so you can see. Okay, so this is the first without those lines, with those lines. And I'm talking about these two lines right here on the other side of this triangle. Like, the shape comes together, like this football shape, the arc of this football shape comes together, and then it's coming towards the point of this triangle, but because you have this, all of a sudden, this break in that flow of this little tiny horizontal line, it really makes the impact of that flow of this football shape coming right to the point. When you just take those out, watch this. That flow continues straight to that point, and your flow is not interrupted with that line. Does that make sense? Or am I just talking?
No. That's one of the most important things you've said in the last hour, and everything's been important. So, yeah, absolutely true.
Okay,
Again, it's negative space.
Yep, negative space. Let me just go ahead. So like I'm going to go ahead and take the edits that I've done and just reflect them over. So I keep seeing how everything is working together.
I just got something in my ear from Rob Zabrecki. He's doing a seance right now, and he's actually contacting Andrew Dougherty. Andrew Dougherty is extending an application to you in heaven. And
Nice.
He wants you to be his right-hand man. Not even his own sons. He wants you, Jackson. Will you take the job or not?
Will I take the job or not?
You respond now. Hold on, Andrew. Jackson just told me that he only works for himself. Okay, Andrew, I'm gonna have to get rid of you. I can't have any swearing on this program. He's been drinking in the clouds, Jackson.
Uh-oh.
Andrew, don't let the old country come in. Just please.
And so we're going to do this. We're going to keep doing that. I like that. And we're going to break this border just a little bit to even emphasize that flow in that direction with those arrows even more. So I'm just going to take this arc that's right here, and I'm going to continue it right there. The shape right here. I'm going to get me a shape that I can excise.
The dangerous part of designing this back is like when I look at it now, it looks almost like, yeah, that's like perfect, like composition wise. And so you're almost at the tally ho point where you're like, adding is going to break it or make it, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, so what I want to do is I need to do this a little bit differently. Just take this. That's the shape that I want out of it. And on top of that, it's going to create, when I cut this out, it's going to create two more sharp points that weren't previously there. Clean it up a little bit here.
Have you ever had anything printed on your cards that you looked at and you're like, oh, I wish I cleaned that up, or that wasn't aligned properly?
Oh, bro. Every freaking deck. Yeah, that's looking real nice.
That's unbelievable.
Now let's keep doing that.
Are you saving?
Oh yes, I'm very much saving.
Okay.
Let me see here. I want to take.
Dude, look at the negative space of like the arcs on the side coming in, how they disappear, and again we close it ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking about how I can do that more. Let's see here. I'm gonna take this this shape. Actually, I'm gonna do it a little bit differently. Do it like this. That's not what I wanted. I want to take this shape here. Oh, it wasn't closed. Let me close this off. Sorry.
This is unreal.
Okay.
Do you ever have anyone offer you like, hey Jackson, I'd like to send you $10 because you gave me an $80,000 college education for free?
No, nobody. I'm still waiting on that.
That's fascinating.
I'm still waiting on those tuition fees.
I know my wife watches like these, like she's real into food. I mean, she's a baker and a cook, and so a chef, I should say. So she watches these guys who do like, I don't know, mukbang stuff, like where you're eating and this stuff, and she's like, oh my god, they must have just made like $2,000. And I'm like, how do they make $2,000? She's like, people just keep sending them money while they're eating.
What's mukbang?
It's where you like, say you and I go to a Golden Chick and we're eating some fried chicken, and then we just put up the camera live, and then we just talk and we eat and we talk about the food and we talk about other stuff. So it's
where?
It's like it's I think it started in Korea, where they have a lonely culture of working and then eating alone, and so people would watch people eat like late at night on YouTube.
Wow. Where do we sign up for that gig?
I know. I'm gonna come out over to I'm gonna come over to Tennessee, and we're gonna go to Gus's Fried Chicken in Memphis, and we're gonna set up a mukbang, and we're gonna see if we can, raise $25,000.
Can you imagine the conversations that we could have on a camera, just me and you, like eating eat some chicken and
Eating, and then we could just like take the camera in the back and like talk to the guy who fries it.
oh man.
You
All
ever
right.
been to Gus's Fried Chicken in Memphis?
Uh-uh.
It is unbelievable, and they have Gus's in a lot of cities. They have one in Fort Worth, they have one in Austin, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, but like when you go to the Memphis one, you're like, this can never be replicated. And when you watch in there, there's a guy. Do you remember the Wu-Tang Clan?
Oh yeah.
There's a guy, the RZA.
Yeah.
So the guy frying the chicken in the Memphis one, he looked like RZA. Like tall and lean. He's like 6'3" and lean. An awesome guy, and I used to talk to him once in a while, and so I used to tell my wife, it's going to be good today. The RZA's frying that chicken, and it's completely this guy, because the batter, I believe, is all prepared the same way. But the Resurrector in Memphis, he had the magic touch, man.
The Resurrector.
The Resurrector has like the touch, and I hope that the owner of Gus's is listening, and they can give the RZA, a raise.
I'm sure he's listening.
I'm sure he is, Jackson. I actually just texted him. That's why I was looking down. Sorry.
The Resurrector.
The Resurrector at Gus's Fried Chicken in Memphis, and it's unbelievable. We need to go to Memphis, Jackson, and just do a week of mukbangs.
I could do that.
Well, why would we keep designing cards? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. Mukbang is the future.
What you need to do is come to the playing card convention. We have mukbangs at the playing card convention talking about old Doradry back designs that we see on the tables.
Absolutely. And then we hypothesized what Dougherty was eating while he created certain backs.
Yes.
Like, was it roast beef sandwich? Was he a vegetarian? Did he drink a lot of whiskey? What was going on with him?
Gabagool.
What's that?
Is it gabagool?
What's that?
It's like some Italian dish. I just say it because they always talked about gabagool on The Sopranos.
I never got into The Sopranos.
Really, I liked The Sopranos a lot, and I got into it later.
I'm a big Curb Your Enthusiasm guy.
Oh yeah. So what I'm doing now is I'm breaking that border again just slightly. Right there. Let's see here. Gabagool, but I don't like that. We're going to not do that because it's too close to that other thing.
Gabagool, and then Baba Ganoush.
Baba Ganoush, yes.
But I love the word.
Yeah, Ganoush is off the tongue.
What's funny is I remember going to this kind of French restaurant in Los Angeles with my friend Surin, and we were in there, and it was called Claufoodus, I think.
Excuse you? What?
Yeah, and I thought it sounded like a disease, like a VD or something.
Yeah.
Claufoodus, and we were in there eating, and then we looked at the menu, and they had a misprint in the menu, and it says that this certain dish comes with sauce.
Sauce?
Yeah, they were saying like it comes with a sauce, like a cream sauce, but
yeah.
It says it comes with sauce. So my friend Surin is kind of a very annoying guy, but a really funny guy. And so the waitress came over, and she was clearly like maybe from like Illinois and had moved to California and wanted to be like, Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
And she comes over and she's like, "What are you two guys having?" And Surin says, I'm interested in the sauce. And she looked at him and she says, "What?" And he says, "The sauce you have here on the menu." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Does it really come with a side of sauce?"
Oh my gosh.
And he showed her the menu, and she looked. I thought we were going to get stabbed by this pretty young girl in this restaurant. And now every time I go to a restaurant and look at a menu that says sauce, I think sauce.
That reminds me of a story. I was with my, I think I was with my brother. Have you ever heard I'm sure now that you live in Texas, have you heard of it? But the restaurant called Cracker Barrel.
Oh, of course I've heard of Cracker Barrel. I've been there. My mom and I went there like 5 months ago.
I mean, very southern thing, but
rocking chairs.
Yep, the rocking chairs. But they serve breakfast. You can get breakfast or whatever. And one of the dishes that they have is called your mom's biscuits and gravy. And on the menu it says your mom's biscuits and gravy. And we were eating it. My brother and I were eating at Cracker Barrel one day, and I ordered your mom's biscuits and gravy. And when the waiter, it was like this, probably like this teenage, it's probably like 18, 19-year-old guy. And he came up, and I was, I'm probably a lot annoying like your friend in a lot of
I
ways.
love it.
And I was like, "Can I have your mom's biscuits and gravy, please?" And he like looked at me. He's like he uh he looked at me like I offended him, but he looked at me. Let's just say this. I could have destroyed the kid. So he looked at me like I offended him, but he didn't look at me enough to like instigate a fight.
When was this? What year was this?
Oh, this is I don't know, 2005, 6, 7.
What location is it?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. It was
Is it
probably
in Alabama?
it was probably in Alabama when we were, uh, working at camp or whatever. I don't remember, but I just remember saying that kind of similar thing of like, "Can I have your mom's biscuits and gravy, please?" And he
Were the
got
biscuits good though?
he got there in their apple butter. Man, come on.
Did his mother prepare it?
Yes, I think his mother was in the back and she was making the biscuits and gravy.
I love it, man. I love it. It's like Cracker Barrel was good too. I mean, it's real salty, but it's good.
Yeah, salt's good for you.
It is. It's a natural mineral. It's organic.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I like all these. I like moving to Texas and finding all these kind of like I see all these people with Bush's Chicken like stickers on their window. I don't really get it. Like I don't know if you get a discount or something because why would you put that on your car? But like you'll see all these old Texas ladies and they have Bush's Chicken, like they have like oil change stickers on your car.
Yep.
What is that? Do you know?
No idea. Actually, I've never eaten a
Okay.
Bush's chicken.
I did once, like when I first visited Austin, like 10 years ago, and it was. I'll go to the Resurrector in Memphis any day.
The Resurrector. All right,
That's that's funny.
this is starting to flush out here. I'm liking it.
It's I love the process of working with you, of course, but I love the delay process actually because I get to go back and like it's having a time machine.
Mm. All right, let me think.
Absolutely perfect.
Let's see here.
Does your wife actually look at the Diamondback tally hose? Does she ever like take it out and is it like
You
an
know,
anniversary present?
no, my wife. She's the thing about my wife is like, how do I explain this? I have no off switch. Um, in the sense that my brain is always in playing card mode in terms of like we'll be just driving and then I'll look at a trash can and I'll think about, oh, that'd be a cool deck design, the trash can.
Same here. Same here.
And she gets so much um overload, playing card overload of King's Wild because there's no King's Wild off switch for me. Um that she doesn't look at my cards that much. I mean, she knows what I'm doing and she knows what I'm working on. And it's the funny thing is, and I like it like that because honestly, my wife is my biggest barometer of whether or not a design is working or not. Because
Oh,
I'll ask
absolutely.
her, I'll say, "Hey, do you like this?" I don't ask her like, "Hey, do you think this is working?" or "Do you think this composition is working?" I'll just go, "Do you like this?" And because because she keeps herself so kind of because she has to filter herself so much just with how much I talk about playing cards, that it keeps her pretty like pristine when it comes to me asking for her input. Because she hasn't been looking at it. I have been, she hasn't been looking at it the whole time.
What does she say though? Does she say like that it sucks or it's okay? And you
Uh,
can
she'll
tell.
she'll kind of she'll say, and I can tell instantly,
Same here.
you know, because if she likes it, she'll be like, "Oh, that's great." And then if she doesn't, it's not that she doesn't like it, but if she doesn't think it's working or it doesn't like move her, she'll like think of a way to she'll think of a way to say it to where it's not not too crumbling to my self esteem.
Yeah, it's like my wife. She'll this week I was working on a back design with it's a pattern back design with rectangles and circles, and
Mm-hmm.
she looked at it, and then I thought it was like I thought it was amazing. I thought it was just like the greatest thing done ever. because when you finish like design elation, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And so I show her, and I'm like, just look at that. And she's like, why would you put black in there? It completely doesn't go with the design in the pattern. And I'm like, what? Of course it. No, don't you think it gives it like contrast and kind of some movement? She's like, absolutely doesn't go with it at all. And
Was
I'm
she
like,
right?
oh. And I'm like eating breakfast, and I'm like, I'm gonna go take a walk. And I'm like taking a walk, and like, I screen cap things, and I look at it down on my phone like I'm holding the card.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do, in the day, and I look at it, and I'm like, damn, that black looks so out of place. And then you start to think like, am I saying that because she said it and I respect her opinion, or is it true? And like 9 out of 10 times, she's completely right.
Yeah. Because even people, you know, I think it's hard to explain, but like even people that don't necessarily have any kind of like design training, what they have training in is life, and they're bombarded so much with good and bad design, whether they know it or not,
Absolutely true.
that they will automatically, even if you don't know composition, form, shape, flow, all that kind of stuff, they'll know it subliminally. And people will be able to say, oh, yeah, blah, 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 that doesn't work. And it's more.
The bad thing about my wife is that she's a freaking great designer. She
Yeah.
has a degree in studio art. So everything she's ever done has been great. So that's why also, I agree that everyone has that. But with her, it's like, yeah, she probably knows.
Yeah. I'm gonna take this line out, and I think it's gonna create this kind of like cool. I don't know. Let's see what happens.
It's honest to God. I mean, honest to God, it's like sitting there looking back at this. It's just, I don't know. It gives me the chills. It's basically something that I look at and I'm like, oh, I want that. I wish I could do that, or I wish I had that.
See, on the bottom part, it still has these two lines right here.
Yes.
That are part of that triangle. When I took this line out, we broke the overall shape of that triangle, but we have these corner chunks that we wanted. And then the closure creates the larger triangle. But on top of that, look at this new shape that it's created right here. I'm going to just do this. It's like this, almost like a wing or a blade or a kite almost like shape right here. It's this kind of let me reflect it over, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. It's like this reflected kite shape right there in that area. And can you imagine what that would look like if you're spinning that card, or if you're moving it or manipulating it?
Or like cardistry.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. All right, let's take this.
I see it now.
It's kind of a blade or something. But the cool thing is we've omitted this line, and it makes this larger triangle shape more interesting because we're not spoon feeding the audience and saying here's a triangle and we're going to outline the whole thing. I kind of even want to see what happens. I don't know. Let me duplicate that change over just so I've got it. But I want to see. I've got one more idea that I want to look at right here. Oh, yeah, that's really cool. Now, what am I trying to do here? Let me see. What was I thinking? Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is, what I'm looking in my mind's eye, I see this, you got this triangle here, this big triangle here.
Right.
Okay. What I'm going to do is, right now we don't have this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two subtriangles right in here. And the only thing I'm going to do that is I'm going to take this line right here and I'm going to cut it out. Clean it up right quick. Oh, that's really cool. So now you've got the large triangle here, like that, and then you've got these extra triangles right there. But then you still have the diamond shape. I need to reflect this piece over. It didn't come over.
It's crazy watching this. Like I'm saying, in time machine mode, you can really like see the change.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's like a jack o' lantern. It's like a subliminal jack o' lantern.
Mm-hmm. Oh man.
That's my day, man. It's just yeah. It reminds me of like a subliminal jack o' lantern.
It does, yeah.
And jack o' lanterns, think about it, are angular.
I want to see if I can use this. I just want to
Cool
try.
how the middle argyle, the middle diamond, goes through
Mm-hmm.
the hoops. The way to describe this back, Jackson, is with censoring. I'm going to use closure here, Jackson, verbally. It is a mind f.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
I want to see if this shape that we were talking about before, this kind of like geometric leaf, I want to try to incorporate that. I keep seeing it right here for some reason. Let me see if I can do this. Well, I know I can do it. I just got to do it. Let me just get the
What do you think of the pen tool and the way it curves?
I mean, I don't know. I struggle with it just because it seems very unintuitive to me.
It does. I mean, I use Illustrator every day, but I use the curve, and sometimes I think like, oh, I got this down, it's easy, and then other times I'm like, how the heck would I ever do that? It just feels so opposite of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You're the same way then?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like when you used to play the game Top Gun on NES.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna push. I want to go up, and you push up, and you're like, what the heck? It takes me down.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you're like learning about like
flight.
Flight controls, and I'm like, this game is terrible. They designed it backwards.
Yeah. Trying to take off and land on that aircraft carrier. Come on.
I would like to play that game again. I remember the music was good. I remember the game I didn't love. I did at the time. I mean, I'm saying like, when I revisited it in the 90s again, I thought it was terrible. But I mean, that's most of those games.
Yeah.
It shows you the power of Super Mario Brothers. It's still good.
Did you see I read this article that an original Super Mario Brothers 1 still sealed, sold for like $660,000.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Like this, was it Mario Brothers or Super Mario Brothers?
Is the Super Mario Brothers 1? No, it was that original. It was that game that it was the ship game that came with the NES.
Oh wow! Why did it sell for that much?
Because I guess it's because it was so pivotal in Nintendo dumb. I don't know.
That is so weird. I remember like 8 years ago, I had cleaning out my closet, and I had like these GameCube games or one of the old systems, and I remember selling them and thinking like, oh, that's rad. I got like $20 for that. Who would be dumb enough to buy that? And then now you look and some of them are like 80, 100, 150.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? My parents, like, it's interesting that you say that because, like, my parents, they're currently, like, cleaning up their house and,
Because they're coming to Tennessee from Texas,
well,
right?
they're moving to Birmingham, which,
Oh, I love that shape you just had right there. Put in there
that little,
the sharp knife blade thing like that.
mm-hmm.
Like that. I love that. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go on.
No, it's okay. You're good. Um, but they're like, they're cleaning up and they're getting rid of a bunch of stuff that they, used to have. And they're like posting a bunch of pictures on Facebook of just like all this junk because they're going to have a garage sale today. And my dad posts a picture of like his old Apple computer. It's like an Apple II. Like,
Your dad had one of those?
he still has it. And he posted it on Facebook and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna put this in the garage sale if anybody wants to come and get it for like $20." And I post on the actual his Facebook post. And I was like, "No, you're not, Dad. That's mine. I'm gonna take it. And if you're gonna sell it for $20, I will buy it for $20." And I said, "Don't put that in the garage sale." And I was like, "That's gonna be worth a fortune one day."
Did you get it?
Yeah, like I'll show you. Look at this. It's got like, it has like the original. It even has like the original instruction manual with what's his face.
I have an Apple II though. I mean, this is weird because I paint the picture of your dad, 20 million brothers, football guy, putting in trees that are in the background of Benji, and then an Apple II. Those were prohibitively expensive at the time.
Yeah, and he bought it.
Oh, he was a teacher though. You said
He was a teacher, but he was
that's it then.
he was like he was very. I feel like he was pretty technically savvy. Like, this is what he posted on Facebook. He's, "I'm gonna sell this for $20." I was like, "No, you're not."
Oh my god!
So it has like the computer.
What they go for though?
They're like $800-900 on eBay right now. But I remember playing games on this, and it's got the original manual with that guy that was one of the founders of Apple.
Oh my god, dude! $20? Can you tell him to put it back up, and I will go to Canyon tomorrow?
Yeah, it's in like the little dot matrix printer that was on it. And look at this little controller. I remember playing games with this controller until my fingers bled.
Do you remember a game? It was called like Dracula's Castle, or it was like if you were walking around a vampire's castle. My dad is an engineer, and so he was one of the first people to do a network of Macs on the West. And he brought home the '84 Macintosh, and it was on our dining room table. And I was like 4.5, 5 years old. I came in, and he showed me this game, and you could throw rocks. You'd hit the space bar, and you could throw rocks at bats.
Yep.
And my mind was blown. My dad calls me a zealot. I have never touched like a Windows computer. I've only owned Mac since '84.
That's funny. And look at this. Like, look at my comments. "No, you're not selling that.
No,
I'll
Dad.
buy it." And then he's like,
Dad, I have a lot of issues with you, and this is number one.
yeah. And he's like, "Do you really want it?" And I said, "Of course. It'll be worth a fortune someday." And then I just post this gif of Obama like going like,
Like, look at the condition though.
yeah. And I mean, the thing still turns on, and you can put one of these floppies in and boot it up.
Oh, please get it. And then when I come out to your house to move in, because everyone doesn't know I'm moving into Jackson's studio.
Yeah, my basement, the Fulton basement.
All day.
Look at this. Look at the difference this one different shape puts in there. Let me reflect it over. Look at that. That's crazy.
I like that guy looking at the computer though.
Yeah, that's what's his face. The guy that's one of the creators of Apple. He just died recently. Huh?
That's not Wozniak.
No, what's the other guy's name?
Not Steve Jobs, is it?
No. Paul. No.
Not Phil Schiller.
Yeah, I think it was Steve Wozniak.
No, it's got to be Woz. It was Woz and Jobs.
Steve. Let's see. Wozniak. Let's see. Old Apple manual. User manual.
I love those shapes in there.
Yeah. 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 Yep. Okay. Let's see here.
You know what though? It's again the theme of closure. You can look at the edges of the diamonds, and you can kind of try to fit them in the negative space in that shape. I mean, I do anyway. I'm a kind of OCD, so I kind of want to fit it in there, and I like how it doesn't fit because it keeps my eye busy.
Right.
Here's a term I learned at Art Center was CSAY. They said never make it CSAY, and I thought when I was 20, what does that mean? And it was like, let's say a company's called Big Lots. Like you don't want to put like a real estate lot for sale with the word big in it. Like you don't want to make things look like they sound.
Mm.
You want to subvert it, almost like back in the 50s when they wrote scripts under the censorship code. They had to, like Hitchcock, the famous Train Through the Tunnel.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I
You
got you.
want to subvert and you want things to be subliminal. You don't want to spell it out for people.
Well, I mean, I think that's. I mean, it's when people can use. And I feel like we've talked about this before, but when people are able to use their own imaginations, everything is heightened more. I mean,
Absolutely.
like I think that what we've talked about before is the Jaws, Spielberg's Jaws effect, to where for the entire movie he never shows the shark for like the first, like the whole, like basically the whole movie. You never see the shark until the very, very end, but you're scared to death of the shark the whole movie, and you've never even seen the shark.
So true. It's like John Carpenter's Halloween. I remember it was rated, like someone said it was one of the bloodiest movies ever made. And John Carpenter said, "Have you seen the film? Like it was so low budget, we couldn't even afford blood. Like there was no special effects crew. It was, are you kidding? Go back and watch it again.
Yeah,
There's really no blood in the film." And you're right. He's right.
yeah, and because he's not showing the shark, but he is creating the environment for you to think about the shark. Your imagination creates the shark tenfold more frightening than what he could show you in the movie.
Yeah, and it's hard to do because imagine like me doing a video of like a lake in Texas, and I'm like, "Oh no, ow,
Yeah.
help!" No one's gonna imagine a shark. Like you have to be able to set it up.
Yep.
And
Correct.
look what he did in the beginning scene. Like not the beginning scene, but you have the girl. It's swimming at
Mm-hmm.
night. It looks great, and then yanked down.
Yep.
I love the cutouts. It reminds me of one of these old graphic designs from the 50s where they had like a Beethoven, I think, like
Mm.
retrospective, and it like broke the mold for graphic design. Like you see the circle patterns coming in there.
Yeah. I'm just trying
Oh,
some
it's
stuff.
crazy.
I'm just trying some stuff now. I want to try to incorporate that fountain pen idea or whatever.
Or boat. I think the original deck was nautical themed, so I don't know if it was a ship mass or he was looking down at a fountain pen. He would have been drawing with a fountain pen, though, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Probably both. And back then, when the UK actually had the ability to produce ships, what's funny is I remember that I think Scotland and Ireland produced like all the great boats of all time, and I read the other year that they don't do anything anymore. It's all Korea. I mean, I think Korea produces all the ships now.
What, like just ships in general?
Yeah, military ships, big boats, cruise ships, everything is. They said the Koreans have like 90% of the industry that the UK had, and it was simply because the UK had regulated it, or just people didn't want to work in that profession anymore. So it was interesting to learn, like Samsung, etc., are building ships.
Wow.
And you always think of like the greatest navy that ever existed, according to a lot of people who are into military history, like my dad, is of course the British.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at all the ships there, and just it's interesting. You and I love history, and it's how things shift or change, or I mean, like look at us. We're talking about Andrew Dougherty, who's been gone for 100 years.
Yes.
That's beautiful. It reminds me of like a rising moon, like a rising full moon.
Mm.
But again, we just project what we are thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, that Spielberg was intending to show the shark, but it kept breaking. Yeah, they did have a lot of mechanical problems with
Mm-hmm.
the shark, but we also have to remember that Spielberg was a huge Hitchcock fan. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
The movie Duel was basically Steven Spielberg imitating Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Well, of course, Hitchcock wrote the language of cinema if we think about it. So it's not that people imitate or rip off Hitchcock. It's like Jackson and I talking about Andrew Dougherty, that he wrote the script and we just are working in his world. I think that Steven Spielberg, I think it was more than the shark being mechanical. I think it was that he understood from Hitchcock, like, Hitchcock's famous saying about if you show someone a bomb under a table,
Yeah.
they create the suspense.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, the shower scene, you don't ever see the knife, you don't ever see her getting stabbed.
No.
But you see the ketchup that they used for the blood, even though it was black and white.
Chocolate syrup.
Yeah, you see that going down the drain. And so you connect the dots in your head.
Absolutely, it was completely storyboarded too. I mean, it was Hitchcock was a graphic designer. I mean, if you could rip each frame of film out of his movies and put it in an art gallery, it's a graphic design. Look at North by Northwest with Cary Grant and the plane. I mean, that's obviously like a graphic idea.
Yep.
That was actually the most useful class I ever had at USC. Was a class called CTCS 393, which was the cinema of Alfred Hitchcock. And it was we watched all 53 Hitchcock films on film.
Wow.
And we would talk about it. And Hitchcock's daughter Pat would come in, and then Hitchcock's granddaughter Mary Stone would come in, and Melissa Stone, his great granddaughter, was in my class.
You mean you watch it on like projector film?
Yeah, actual film, actual 35 millimeter that they
Wow.
would have like trucked in, like with a Brinks truck.
It's awesome.
It is, dude. And you would sit and talk to Pat, and you would just get a totally different perspective of what it was, and you would have to kind of read through the BS of like what your film professor was telling you was the hidden meaning versus what the reality was.
And that reminds me of like what we were just talking about a while ago of like, and I experienced that a lot in college too, of like, I mean, more solidification that my college career was completely worthless in the fact that like we were talking about, you asked what I think Dougherty was thinking when he was designing this. And like, I totally believe it's just, they were creating stuff that they thought was pleasing to themselves. And it wasn't a thing of them trying to like, oh, I need to put it, hidden meaning and, which there's a place for that, but I don't think it's, I don't even know if I'm making any sense, but.
Absolutely, because also we have to think about what was Dougherty really thinking about, like an eBay collector's market. He thought this stuff was going to be absorbed by someone, and thrown away in the trash. Yeah,
and consumed, for sure.
I'm not saying he thought his work was meaningless, but he definitely did not see that people were going to talk about it in 100 years, I don't think. Maybe he did, I don't know.
Yeah. And like, we've been chatting about this, and like, you've mentioned things like, we're going to create something that's like going to last for the ages. Like, you don't go into like those types of designs. When the person started those designs, they never went into it like, I'm going to create something that's going to last the test of time. They just went into it. Trying to create something that they would buy or that was pleasing to themselves. And then out of it just came something that worked. And I think that's a good, going back to my pottery class lesson that I always talk about. That's why you just have to create tons of work, because you just have to go through the numbers to get to those things that work. And if you're always like, pouring over it, you're never gonna get to the point to where you find that one thing that works, because I don't even. Some more good things coming. I can feel it.
It's true, because when we were doing clip joint, I mean, like back then the industry was so different. It was like you never even imagined anyone talking about it, because no one was even talking about smoke and mirrors, etc. And then, you never thought that. I mean, within 4 years, no one was talking about clip joint, but then all of a sudden it has a renaissance where you're getting messages saying this was the greatest deck ever made. This got me into card collecting, and you're like, oh wow, I never even imagined by 2013 anyone would remember the deck.
Yeah, and that's something that I've witnessed multiple times in the playing card collector world. Is about every 2 years or so, or even every year, there's this whole like surgence of people like, oh, there's a playing card bubble and it's gonna burst, blah blah blah, and I'm like, it's total BS because what people have to realize is that every year in playing cards, in the playing card collecting, and the people that buy playing cards, every year you've got, X number of 100 people that are new to it, that have never seen a clip joint, that have never seen a smoke and mirrors, that have never seen a Federal 52.
Very true.
And they're coming to it. And to those people, the clip joint is brand new. The Federal 52 is brand new. This deck is brand new, whatever. And so, like, and as long as the designs are, solid and like what we've talked about, lasting, like, when the people churn and they come through, you'll have people come in, people leave, and then you'll have people that stay. Those designs are going to be brand new to a lot of people. And to me, that's one of the reasons why I feel like that as a business, I've been able to, survive as a business because, a lot of people, even like a lot of the people that are in this, my Don's Early Light crew, most of the people, there's some of them that have been around for a while, but the majority of the people that are like the zealots now, the King's Wild zealots, are people that have, come around in the like past 6 months,
Absolutely. I have people buy. I have people message me like, to buy old decks that I still have a few left of, and they're like, "Oh, I never knew there was an October V2, or I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never knew there was an original Ivory, Ace Fulton, etc." Or like, "Hey, do you know the version order of Smoke and Mirrors?" And like, to me, it's old news, and I appreciate that anyone would even talk about it because I just I love it. I respect anybody who's getting into it, and I think when you're talking about a playing card bubble, I think the bubble may be like with like the thing is new with kind of like everyone in their you kind of started the Kickstarter thing, really, if you think about it. The success of Federal 52s has kind of inspired 20 billion people, and not all of them are great, and I think that the bubble might be in people being able to profit off of these little projects. The idea that everybody needs to have their own deck, that might, but I don't know. I think people that are established and can keep continuing to do great decks and want to be a part of the community and appreciate the community,
Yeah.
then I don't believe in bubbles with that.
Well, that's one thing. Like, that's one thing I see with, like, if you take the group of people that are in the playing card collecting world that are new to it. Well, it's more of just, I guess this is more of just my own perspective on the whole thing. Like, you get someone that's talking about the playing card collecting world, and they're like, "Oh, there's so many, there's 400 million playing card Kickstarters on Kickstarter right now, and there's so much out there," and they'll attribute that to some kind of like bubble, and then they always ask me, "What do you think? Do you think it's is it harder to compete, or is it harder to be a playing card designer?" The initial answer is yes. It's harder to like get into it, and it's harder to like it's harder to make a name for yourself, I guess. But I like the fact that there are a ton of playing card designers and people making playing cards, because it's just going to further proliferate the playing card community. It's going to make the awareness of the playing card community better. And to me, I look at that as a business opportunity, because every time someone new is introduced to playing cards, it's another chance for me to beat the other guy, the other designer, and convince that person that's introduced to playing cards to buy my cards instead of their cards.
It's true, but it's like, what if Dan Buck and I would have seen you come out in 2013 or whatever, and we would have said, "Oh, we got to get rid of this guy. This is competition." Well, I wouldn't be here right now doing this deck, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like a million other people did Kickstarters between that time, and I don't know where they are now.
Yeah.
It's like always like the cream rises to the top.
Yeah. And and I'm gonna be a broken record here, but like, you give me, if you give me a designer or a collector, how do I put this without hurting anybody's feelings? You give me a designer that gripes about the fact that there's too many playing cards, or there's too many designers, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. More than likely, that same designer is the one that doesn't produce much stuff, or that pours over their work and treats everyone. It's kind of that you're as good as your last game mentality type thing. And they feel like that their entire identity hinges on each project that they're working on, and that they've got to make that project they're working on at the moment the best thing ever. You know, when it's like,
Well, I'm guilty of that. Not so much of pouring over and have my self-esteem wrapped up in what I've done, but I am, like, you've loosened me up a lot to it. But honestly, I am like the most nitpicky, retentive person that ever lived, and that's Dan and Dave are as well, and that's just how we are.
you know what? But you know what? I'm gonna work on you, bro, and we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it happen. I just gotta keep massaging you a little bit here.
It's true, and I do agree with you. It's really interesting how how different things are. It's your philosophy has definitely changed me in that way.
Yeah,
I don't know that I mean, it's hard to change who you are, but it's
yeah,
definitely made me see another side to
absolutely.
myself.
And it's not even so much. It's not even so much me trying to change you or trying to change other people, but it's almost like it's more of me wanting the best for everybody, and me wanting the best for the card community. And I know that the best thing for the card community, and also just the best for me, because at the heart of it, I'm selfish, and I want to win. And the best thing for me is to be able to see and approach things from all these different viewpoints of like how they're designed and how people come up with the ideas that they come up with. Because ultimately, that makes me a better designer, you know. Uh, and even with like you, or like with like the Bucks or anything like that, it's good. It's good for me to like figure out how and learn and to reverse engineer how all these different people are doing stuff, so that I can dissect it
Absolutely.
and do a better job.
You know
Because
what? Yesterday I went through my Dropbox and I found the original Illustrator files for the box of clip joint, and I was looking through and I'm like, how did Dan do that? Dan Phillips. And I'm
mhm,
looking at it and I'm like, that's a crazy ass way to do it. Like, he cut out the corners there by overlaying a circle over onto a rectangle, and it made me completely see shapes in a different way.
yeah,
Like, oh, I didn't know it was so pieced together. Like that corner, he could
oh,
have just drew it with a pen tool, but he pieced it together with three different shape tools. Interesting.
mhm,
And I mean, it works. It's a weird, it's a weird way to do it.
yep. I'm cleaning up the design here.
Yeah, it's like that's the design is hard. I mean, at its core, design is problem solving, right?
Yes,
You have a problem and you have to solve it, just like Vanilla Ice did.
yep,
And it's difficult. It's like engineering with aesthetics. It has to be functional. It has to be beautiful. It's a lot harder than people think. I've never been a competitive person against other people. I don't know what it is. So someone said, oh, you have the big man's disease, where you just like a big, like, Shaq never thought that he was looking at competing with other people. He just kind of competed with himself, and I think that's the way I've always been as a kid. Like, when I played baseball, I never really was like dying to win. I just wanted to,
right.
like, in my head, I wanted to be Greg Maddux, and I'm like, am I as good as Greg Maddux? No, I need to be as good as Greg Maddux. I didn't really care about
Yeah,
the kids on the team.
totally.
I always held myself to kind of a higher standard. Like, I don't really want to be as good as someone on Kickstarter that I'm just seeing for the first time. I want to be as good as Andrew Dougherty. I
Yeah,
want to be, this kind of level. So I've always had this obsessive nature of not comparing myself, saying that I'm the best like a Greg Maddux, but that's my barometer.
I got you. All right. So I'm looking at this shape right here that we got. I want to start. So I feel like I've got kind of the framework ready, and now I'm going to start
It's
kind of.
mesmerizing, man.
What's up?
It's funny how much has changed. Like, just in 20 minutes, like, you start to see the triangles go away but reappear in a closure type of way.
Yeah, and something else that has appeared that I just now kind of noticed is these, and we were talking about it before. Let me just make it to where when I show what's going on, are these two large negative space X's right here. There's one right here. Right here. So right there and right here.
Which does help kind of form the beautiful large triangles in the background. Those are kind of the subliminal line of them.
And that's the thing. I think the thing that's interesting about it is we haven't drawn any, we don't have any triangles and we don't have any X's, but we actually have both without drawing either one of them.
Very true.
Let me see. Okay, so this shape right here, it's kind of like you got this hourglass. Let me just do this like this. You've got this hourglass shape.
Katie, there's Katie Byrne saying hi, Jackson. And
Oh, Katie is the queen of the DEL crew.
You know what's interesting is when I see the last name Byrne is that I was in Vancouver, Canada about 2 years ago, and I was walking down Gastown, and they always had this old shop called like the Old Scottish Shop or something like that. And I went in there, and there's like this 6-foot, broad-shouldered old Scottish woman who runs the shop, and they sell like family crests and kilts and all that stuff. So, that being the old country, for us, I walk in there and I'm like, oh, this is cool, and I'm showing my kids these what do you call them? The crests, right?
Yeah.
And I say, where's the Fulton crest? I want to get one. And then she's like, oh, you're a stubborn SOB, aren't you? And I'm like, huh? What? And she's like, the Fultons and the Burns were the only clans that would only allow themselves to be from inside. They thought they didn't need outward membership for protection.
That's funny.
And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, Fulton and the Burn don't have like an actual crest, as you will, because clans were formed as like protection, as almost militaries, they would adopt a name. And she said, but Fulton and Byrne were, maybe she was just calling me an inbred, I don't know. But she said the Fulton and the Burns were like, they thought that they were tough enough to do that. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'll have to ask Paul Wilson, the famous Scottish magician. But so when I see the last name Byrne, like David Byrne from the Talking Heads, I'm like, oh, okay, Fulton and Byrne, we're similar. We can hang.
All right, we got this like hourglass with triple diamond shape right here. Right there in the center. I'm going to pull that over.
You know what I think Dougherty would have called them, Jackson? I think he would have called them doodads.
Little doodads. I call them ghibli bits.
Little doodad there.
Yeah, I call them the ghibli bits.
Ghibli bits, doodads, baba ganoush, sauce, whatever you want.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to pull it up right here. About right there. And then I'm going to take this. I need to merge all this together so I can have the shapes.
Oh, wow.
Why is this not merging?
So what's your comment on working in Illustrator today? I mean, I haven't seen you work in Illustrator for ages.
I'll bear it. It is nothing but a tool.
I think it's working. I mean, I think it works frame of mind for you.
Well, it definitely, the good and the bad, because it's less intuitive. I find myself, like working out the design verbally a lot more, like I'm doing, like talking about it, as opposed to like Photoshop. I don't ever get in the, let's just say, I don't ever get in this zone in Illustrator, if you know what I mean.
That's a great way to say it.
I don't ever get in this zone in Illustrator, but it is a thing where, let me just cut this right quick and put it over here. I don't ever get the zone in Illustrator, but at the same time, it makes me be more analytical about it in the sense
Well,
that
what it means is that you won't fall asleep while driving. It's like the bumps on the road.
right. But there's a part of like and the people in the DL crew know it because they've seen it before. Like there'll be a time where I'll get in the zone while I'm working, and like I won't talk for like 2 hours, and I'll just be rocking it out, you know. And I don't get that as much in Illustrator, which is not a bad thing, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just it's a nice change up, I guess you could say, because I'm having to work slow, and I'm having to think about things more graphically, and apply like the elements of design and such to things more.
Well, think about how different it is, though. Like, illustrating, like the last time we did the ad card or something in the line decker style. Think about how different that is, illustrating in a line decker style versus laying out a detailed pattern.
Oh yeah.
It's completely different brain processes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. I like that. It obstructs the dot more. It
Yeah.
makes it more mysterious.
And then you also have this kind of like payback to this original kind of design, which I like.
Love it.
Now I'm going to create these. I'm going to go ahead and create these diamonds in here.
It's gonna replicate the kind of Argyle that we began with.
Yes.
Actually, that's a very interesting way to think about it. It's like a mini representation of Argyle. It's great though that you have this community thing. Now everybody, when Jackson first told me that he wanted to work with me live, I thought this is the nuttiest thing I've ever heard in my life. And now I see that it's probably one of the most positive things to come, especially with the year everybody's had, et cetera, in different ways. I think people are wanting a community more and more. And this will do it. It's very interesting that nowadays it's how hard it is to find positive things.
Absolutely.
Where you can just be interested in producing something or creating something and not, I really don't like I like to look at stocks and stuff. And I don't like how nowadays when I look at my stocks, it immediately feeds in news. And like, I want to look at the stocks. I don't want to look at the news. I really don't believe. It's like Louis Buñuel said in his book, My Last Sigh. He said, news is the worst thing in the world. It will have somebody worrying about a tornado in like London.
Yeah.
That will never touch them and never do anything to them, but yet they will worry like, oh no, there's this tornado coming. And it's very true. So it's better to just tune out, watch Jackson do his thing. And also it's humility. It's like, Jackson told me that this week he texted me and he's like, hey, my Don's Early Light crew watched me 90 minutes fiddle around with software not working.
Yeah, they were watching me just struggle with Illustrator not working.
But it's great. I mean, it's very rare that someone wants to humanize themselves, especially with their own company, their own card line. I mean, you can go two ways. You can look godlike, or you can look like a fool playing what's called ping pong.
Yes.
I told Jackson this week, I said he can just claim that he beat me and I will never argue it because it'll absolutely happen. I'm good. Whatever I do, I try to be really good at, but I am horrible at ping pong.
Yeah.
Horrible. What made you get a ping pong table?
Kind of like just to have like camaraderie and for us to have something to do together and to like, when somebody's been cellophaning decks for 3 hours, for us just to stop and do something different, shake it up a little bit, get people moving.
I never liked foosball.
I hate foosball. Ugh.
That was pointless.
Like it was like if you think ping pong is hard, like foosball, like getting to a point where foosball is enjoyable is it's like even worse.
I know. I was in a restaurant in DC like 15 years ago, and we went upstairs, and these guys were really into. Isn't foosball the thing with like those like little soccer players?
Yeah, little soccer guys.
And these guys were these college guys from like Georgetown or whatever. They were super into it. And I just looked at them like they were mentally ill. I couldn't even watch it for more than 2 minutes. I just needed to leave.
Yeah.
But I feel the same way about soccer. I'm sorry if anyone's a soccer fan. I just look at soccer and I think like this is unbelievable that this is a global sport. I just think like this is the silliest thing. And then some Euro guy, he told me, he's like, oh, it's because you're brainwashed into breaking games into these quarters. We don't have commercials. Like it's a long run, it's a long form thing. And I'm like, get out of here.
It's like,
I'll take a stupid commercial in 9 innings any day. Get that out of here. I don't like soccer. And it's funny because like you want to be able to pinpoint it to like, oh, those people do that. Oh, that's the French or something. No,
Yeah.
It's every single country, even the US now.
yeah.
Drives me nuts. This guy I'm friends with, he was doing like he was opening decks of soccer. He like has like, you know, he's into card collecting again. And I'm like, I looked at it to see if there's any baseball. And of course he's opening these soccer cards. And I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about this.
Okay. Now, what I'm going to do now is, first of all, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Me too. Let's take a 3-minute intermission.
Oh, okay. I'll be back before that, but let's do that's
Okay.
fine.
How about a 30-second intermission? Go.
Okay, go. I'll put some music on. How you guys doing, crew, over there in the chit chat? What's going on?
I'm back.
Oh, yeah. All right, turn off the
Back in
internet.
the old days of movie theaters, they used to have like Spartacus was it called? They called them road shows, and they would have an intermission and they would give you a booklet. You would go hang out, you know, and have a cigarette outside with your spouse or whoever you brought, and you would look at the booklet of Spartacus and see how it was made.
That's really cool.
It is. It's awesome.
Do
But
people
actually,
have those still? Those little booklets?
You could probably find them. I mean, like Ben-Hur, any of these movies, they showed us actually at USC. They showed us like Spartacus as a road show, how it would have been presented.
Wow.
It's cool, man. I mean, that's what's fun. Road shows.
All right, what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to start adding more kind of like I've got a few solid shapes like this, like the darker black shapes. I'm going to add a few more of those just to add weight in different areas. And then we're going to start adding some like line weight variation just to like start putting in some more like the tertiary detail.
Yes, this is it.
Let's see here.
Let's go all the way with this one.
Well, don't get too excited. Don't start doing your expectations on me here.
And unplug my microphone and stomp out like WWF. I might just break the screen here like Sergeant Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter.
I never liked wrestling either. I know
What?
I come across a real picky guy. I never liked it. My buddy Sam Pierce over in England, he'll like text me pictures of like the 80s WWF, like, you know, the Nintendo game. And I love the aesthetics of 80s wrestling. I freaking love the aesthetics, but I could just never watch it.
Oh, I loved it. I grew up on that, man.
I'm a baseball guy. I'm a Dodgers guy. I'm a boxing.
See?
I'm like really like an old man.
See, you know, the thing, like I understand the love of baseball, and I understand its place in Americana, But like, I'm kind of the same way about baseball. Like, uh, okay, sure, let's go sit down and watch people, scratch and spit. But I mean, I understand it. What did you say something?
Scratching is fun.
Yeah, scratching is fun. So what I'm doing now is just taking like these like angles. Like you've got this angle thing
City
right
of
here.
the angles.
City of the angles. I'm taking the angles and creating more interest in different areas. Let me see.
Rad.
All right, let me take this.
I love that actually.
Let me just get this.
Dude, when I used to have hair, I used to go to this barber, Marta, and I used to like she would finish it, and I always say, can we get it a little more square? Not like jarhead style, but
Uh-huh.
it had to be like flared, and it had to go up angular. If I saw any kind of roundness
Mm.
to the hair, it had to be angular. I don't know. I've always just been a stickler for angles. I don't know what that says about me. I don't know.
I don't know.
Any psychologists here? I love that, Jackson. That reversed out,
Yeah.
no tan style.
I think we're gonna get, and it's gonna break the border too. So it's gonna create even more interest.
Yeah, it's going to create like a line weight variation for sure. It's funny. Someone says I love boxing. Nobody else seems to like it. See, when I was a kid, even you would get like the old guys, the reporter guys with the hat and the cigar, and they'd still wear a suit. And those guys only liked boxing, and they only liked baseball or like horse racing. And my mom's a horse racing person. I can't stand it. I don't understand that either. But yeah, baseball and boxing were just kind of like, I think it has to do with like chess or statistics or people who like these because believe it or not, boxing, baseball, they're kind of games of push and pull.
Yeah.
It's a stats game at some level.
Well, yeah. It's like the whole Moneyball thing.
Yes.
That whole kind of concept, which I can
But
totally get.
hey, someone said Fulton had a kid and play haircut. I was at LAX airport in 1989 with my mom, and I saw a kid and play in the airport. And the guy, what's his name? Chris Reed, a kid, the one with the hair he's probably referencing. He was so freaking cool to me because I went up to them and I said, "Hey, you're kid and play. I'm sorry, I don't know which one of you is which."
That's
And
awesome.
then the other guy without the square hair, he was super PO. Like he thought it was so lame that I didn't know who he was. But then the Chris Reed guy was like, "No, man, that's cool. Thanks for even noticing us. What's your name? How are you?" And then speaking of boxing, I turned around and then one of the ladies that worked at the America West booth, she's like, "Did you just see Mike Tyson in here?" I'm like, "No, where's Mike Tyson?" She's like, "Oh, he just walked past when you were talking to those guys." So what
Oh,
a day to be at LAX.
that's funny. Let me put these together.
It's amazing. The one thing that I take away from this, because it's like being outside of myself. When I'm doing Illustrator, I'm just in this myopic world. Everything's great, everything's amazing. And then when you're watching it, like it's like watching a TV show, watching you do the work. It just amazes me how one line
Hmm.
changes everything. Right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
I mean, I boxed my life. I didn't have a father, so my mom was like, "Oh, you're 8 years old. You're gonna be boxing. You're gonna go to the YMCA." So I boxed during that era, and we used to all just like we couldn't afford the pay per view, so I used to have to like watch highlights on the news and just like play Mike Tyson's Punch Out. But it
Oh
was
yeah.
like Tyson was God
Oh
to
yeah.
anyone who was a kid or boxed or anything back then. I still remember the commercial for Mike Tyson's Punch Out, where it was like the TV screen wall and then Mike in the chair.
Yes. Yep.
Amazing commercial. I remember, boxing, and I was really good at boxing the other 8 year olds, and I was like big for my age. And then they're like, "Hey, let's get Brad over here. We got this other kid, who's gonna box." And he was like this like group home kid who was like 12 or 13, and I was like 9. And that's the first time I ever got knocked out. And like when you get hit that hard and you're that young, I mean, this would be totally like taboo today. I mean, could you
Oh
imagine the
yeah.
news like abusive mother drops child at YMCA and now he has brain damage? But I mean, this kid beat me so hard that I'm like, I don't even know if I can get up. I don't know. And it was like two punches, like, cause I had been boxing these guys that were like my age, and then you step up, like, that's a huge difference in strength.
Oh yeah.
I love that. Look at that. See,
I mean,
I
just
love the play though.
look at the difference in interest this left side has than this right side.
Well, yeah, because you want to complete it. You're trying to see if the tip of that
Mm.
angle fits into that one. It's a play.
And it also creates yet another triangle that we're,
I,
you know,
I love that.
another
I love
triangle
that
right
actually being
here.
the final.
As the DEO crew says, ship it.
Ship it? Is that what they say?
Yeah, we always joke about it. Like I'll paste something and it like totally looks bad, and like just like I'll paste an image, we'll like ship it.
So that means like print it like you're gonna do it.
Yeah, like where I started saying it was for like the video game industry, where we're like, I don't know, just ship the game, ship it. I don't care.
Just get it over with.
Just get it over with. Just ship it.
That's funny. Dan Phillips, you know, who the clip joint, the first clip joint
Mm-hmm.
illustrator, he designs video games that I've mentioned before, and he
Mm-hmm.
was talking this week about his role, and his role is he's called a tech artist.
Yep.
And so he said that he's the go-between between engineers and artists
Yep.
because he can do both sides, the programming side and the art side.
Correct.
And I said, let me guess, the engineers win all the time. And he said, nope, you'd be surprised. He goes to bat for the artists, you know, and it's an interesting job.
Yeah. I mean, I was in that world. I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, well, it's crazy though, because he was saying something to me about video game design. We were talking about it, and he said, imagine your life if you were walking through life, and like the minute you started walking, nothing behind you existed. That's video game design.
Yep.
He
It
said
is.
you have to reframe your brain to where only what you see exists. And like I'm like, so in Mario's and Princess Peach's, you know, the castle in Mario 64, the paintings don't exist, only the ones he's looking at. He's like, yep, you have to erase everything from your mind, they don't exist.
Yep. It's called LEDs. No, LODs. What was it? LODs, level of detail. And like you can always see that like in games like where you're like running or something and you'll see something in the distance that's really blurry. And then you'll all of a sudden see it like blink and it'll become higher resolution. That's an LOD level changing, a level of detail. And the only reason why they do that is just to like make the game run faster, but they can't because they can't load everything at once.
Or like they probably have like an accountant person like look at what the budgeting would be.
Yeah,
that's really what it is.
Exactly.
Good thing that we're on limited budget here, Jackson. We have unlimited budget because Illustrator isn't costing anything right now.
Absolutely. Now I'm gonna add a black. I'm gonna add a dark. Let's see, what am I gonna do? I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm going to add this dark weighted shape up the top that's got this same angle right here. Right about there. Let's see here.
What technique did you use to do Federal 52 with like the currency style? What's that actually called? The like, you know, little crosshatch style?
Just engraving, like engraving style, intaglio engraving style.
Was that difficult to learn?
It wasn't difficult to learn. It was more difficult to like make it look correct or emulate it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I mean it's completely different technology. Someone's saying Call of Duty had that LODs. Dan Phillips actually does Call of Duty. It's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah, all games got it.
I never played Call of Duty. I only like Nintendo. I don't play any other systems, so I like Splatoon, the paint battle.
Yeah. That's another thing, like you were talking about, you're horrible at ping pong. Like, I played lots of video games, lots of first-person shooter games, and I could never get, I would always just get wasted.
Really?
Oh, because I could never get better.
That's funny. Splatoon. I mean, you know what Splatoon is, right? Like the paint gun shooter.
Yeah.
It is the most intense, addictive game to me. I've never really been addicted to a game, and like I've confessed before, like I love Splatoon. I mean, I will just like, even sometimes like I'll be like kind of stressed out about something, and I'll just take 20 minutes and I'll play Splatoon, and I feel better.
I'll have to play it. You know,
It's great.
something else that I think about, that Macintosh that I was talking about earlier. That was the first. That was the first experience I ever had with some kind of digital art painting program. Was that Apple Paint program that was on that? That was
Oh,
base.
sure.
That was basically like you're painting a picture with like green and black, and that's it. Because that was the
Was
two
it Mac
colors.
Paint? Was it like a first version of Mac Paint or Mac Draw?
Yeah, yeah. And it was basically you had black, you had no pixel, and you had and you had a pixel that was like, you could either make it black or green because that was the only two colors, and it was like different variations of that.
Did you love it?
Oh yeah, I would sit there for hours.
Your dad would let you play for hours, or did he limit your time?
No, he let me play for hours on that thing, just drawing.
It's fascinating. It's funny how these influences are. It's Andy Warhol was one of the first kind of people to really be into digital art. He favored the Amiga.
Is that a computer or is
Yeah,
that
the Amiga was kind of like actually Steve Jobs and Apple. They kind of ripped off
a?
Amiga. Amiga had drawing programs, and Steve Jobs actually flew to New York to go to John Lennon's kid Sean Lennon's birthday party when Sean was like 5.
Huh.
And he flew there with a Macintosh because he wanted to meet Andy Warhol, and he knew that Andy Warhol was going to be at this birthday party. And he presented Warhol with the Mac,
Weird.
and Donald Warhol is a really close friend of mine. He's Andy's nephew, and Donald showed me one of the original Amigas in Pittsburgh, and he said that he's like Andy never really got on board with the Mac. He was an Amiga guy because Donald was his IT guy actually. So he was telling me about the Amiga programs he used to use to do like the precursor to digital art in
Hmm.
the early '80s.
What's happening here? Got something wrong. Oop.
Yes, they did have a paintball video game called Gotcha. I remember that game. I think Gotcha was based on a movie, if I remember correctly. It was kind of it had a cool logo. I remember with the paint splatter on it. It's fascinating watching the line weight variation again change things. It's like designing cards is the house of cards. You have to really look at it and see what the weight is doing, the variables, how it
Hmm.
changes things. I was working on a black and white tile pattern yesterday in Illustrator, and it's maddening. It's maddening trying to fit things in a defined space. The card back 3.5, 2.5. You have to kind of know math and know how many squares will fit, what you want to do with it,
Mm-hmm.
and what changes as it goes on. Sometimes I will call Dan Phillips in the middle of the day and bug him while he's at work, and I'll be like, "Hey, I want to rotate this around a circle. What do I need to do?" He's like, "Well, that's simple. 360 is the degree number of a circle, and you want to do 23 shapes. 360 divided by 23. Blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Okay, how the hell would I know that?"
You're definitely a technical artist.
Yeah, oh yeah, Dan, you're a technical artist. It's crazy, but it's so rare to be like that two brain type of
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
A centric. Dan's left-handed, and he completely is like his dad's a mechanic, and his grandpa was a mechanic. He's like an art mechanic.
Yeah. I like that.
I send him like so many decks that are half-assed done that like we're working on and stuff, and and I say you got to mop these up for me. Like these are not aligned, these are not good. I cannot do that aspect of it very well. I can't. It's like I can get the ideas pouring and lay it out and rough it out real quick, but it is nowhere near ready to be printed. And file stuff has to go to the card mechanic.
Mm.
So that the tally hose would have been done with an engraving style then.
Yeah. They would have all uh, either wood block or the copper plate.
Do those plates exist today?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Really?
Some people have them on eBay, and then they have some of them in they have some of them at USPC. Some of the original
Wow.
ones. Yeah.
What would one go for on eBay if you had like a tally ho?
I don't know. I don't know. I know that I have a little bicycle thing that's like, it wasn't for cards, but it was a plate. I don't even know where it's at, but it's about as big as a quarter. It's about this big, and it was a plate that had a little bicycle tuck case on it that they would print on, like some of the ad books that they would make.
So it's not full regulation size then.
No.
That is so cool. How did you get it?
Uh, I want to say that Tiffany gave it to me from United States Playing Card Company.
That is so cool. I love that stuff. I mean, it's like, when you first told me about the Intaglio deal that you did, it's amazing that someone would go back and do that.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
And you were into, like, I believe, gun etching as well.
Yeah, firearms engraving and stuff. Yep. I mean, it's all kind of like the same process.
You're a very employable guy, Jackson. I just want you to know that.
Well, you know what? I'm glad because I approach life with the idea that I could be looking for work at any moment.
And you're very useful though, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic. It's like, there's certain people like my neighbor Todd. He like his fence that he built is freaking amazing. Like I look, which adjoins my yard. I look at the fence and I'm like, were you like a wood guy? He's a professor.
Uh
And I'm
huh.
like, he's like, no, no, no. I just watched YouTube videos and but like he just makes himself great at what he does, like useful.
That's cool.
The fence is unreal. And I'm like, what would that cost if you hired someone to do that? He's like, I don't know, like 5 or 6K. I'm like, what did it cost you? He's like, well, it cost me $1,500, but like, months of my time.
Yeah.
Okay, someone says there's an expert design printing plate from the USPCC for $23.50 right now. 2,350, not $23.
Yeah, and like what I've learned with like, especially with like clay and that kind of stuff, uh, you know, it's not even the physical stuff that I want. I just want to be able to digest the images, you know, just to be able to look at them. And so I find myself not really needing to collect the actual item. I just want like scans or pictures that I can just
Yeah.
file it and digest it later.
So you're not a hoarder.
I would consider my wife would consider me a hoarder, but it just depends on what I'm hoarding, I guess.
I love that what you're doing with the triangle here though in the corner. Like I liked it weighted, and now I like it dually because it's creating another concentric ring. It's
Mm,
very interesting what it's doing right now.
if I could, there we go.
So is your wife somebody who, like, if she hasn't used it in 6 months, she gets rid of it?
No, she was like that, and then she married me, and then all of my failings.
Like the Chuck Norris.
Oh yeah, we're not getting rid of that, dude. We're never
No
getting rid of
way.
that.
I mean, I can't even believe that it was on the table. It's like your dad's Apple II. I mean, that's ridiculous to me.
Yeah,
For
no.
Chuck's
I was
sake.
like, heck no, we're not getting rid of that. What are you thinking?
She's an inspiration to him.
Yeah, I can say that my
Chuck
wife.
Norris would never work again.
Yeah, like I can say that my wife. Chuck Norris said that my wife was an inspiration. Like, come on.
But what a guy he is, though. I mean, to sign that. I mean, that's like really taking the humility a step further and saying that I'm grateful for what I have,
Mm-hmm.
which we all should be every minute. Like someone messaged me one time and said, "I can't believe I'm talking. I can't believe you responded." And I said to my wife, I'm like, "Oh, really? Like, what else am I doing right now? Like you're not messaging like the president or something. It's like when people are appreciative, you really need to take a step back and say, I'm very humble. I'm very glad that anyone even cares.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, it can go away real quick, and then you're like, oh, I shouldn't have been blank.
Yeah.
I still feel that way though when I get a text back from Jackson Robinson. I'm like, I tell my wife, I can't believe he texted me.
Oh my gosh.
Are you doing well without allergies now in Tennessee?
Yep, it's for sure full pollen flow right now. Uh,
Oh, dude,
and I
my oldest daughter, has horrible allergies, and it's like she sounds like she's sick, but it's not sickness, and her voice sounds like a 90-year-old smoker.
yeah,
And it's from I believe I looked at the news, and it's called oak pollen.
yep, that and cedar is what I was allergic to in Austin.
Oh, dude, the cedar says not much now, but I mean, she sounds bad, and it's like people say get bee pollen. I don't know. You've obviously
Oh
tried
yeah,
that. Did that do anything for you?
oh yeah, get local bee honey, like
Did it
eat.
work?
Oh yeah, because you're ingesting you're ingesting the
I
pollen
love
and
that weed,
stuff.
by the way.
What?
I love your line weighting. I love that this is making the deck to me. Is these triangle coming back like this in the corner?
Well, thanks. I also am trying to I'm trying to start bringing back some of the elements that were in the original.
Yeah, because when they went away, I was a little sad that I just saw more circular, and then now you see this, and I'm like, well, it's good I kept my mouth shut because they're better than ever. It's like Dan Phillips. It's funny that Dan Phillips is going to be like watching this later. Like on his second screen. It's a trip that like 10, 11 years ago, really we were designing this, and then
Mm-hmm.
we have you take it, and Dan Phillips is like, that guy is just so amazing. He really needs no limits. He really needs to just go. Someone like him is just limitless.
Wow,
Let them go. He said, let them be free. Let them
that's
go.
that's nice.
Oh no, Dan is just. I mean, I always think that like you and Dan would be like kindred spirits.
Yes.
Some people are protective over stuff they've done. Like some people are like, oh no, clip joint is. I'm the original illustrator of clip joint. And then when I told Dan you're doing it, he's like, hold on, let me look at this guy's site. He's like, yep, that's the real deal.
I think
He's like, he has skills I couldn't acquire in 100 years. Below.
Well, you could acquire it just. But he's got. I mean, he's great too. I mean,
oh, he's underrated. I mean, like all those, like you look back at Ace Fulton's. I mean, that almost tore us. That was like the Joy Division song "Love Will Tear Us Apart." We almost had a tearing apart over the Ace Fulton back. And then he said, "Well, Brad, it's simple. There's nowhere to hide." He said, "Simple designs. There's nowhere to hide." And it's true. It was a pain in the ass.
Yeah. I gotta make sure that these lines are not so small that when we print them, that they're too.
And again, it's almost like we're not trying to send the message, but it is that subtle theme of blinds in noir. It's just like that's what I get out of it. I don't expect anyone to look at that and say, "Oh, it reminds me of Double Indemnity." Oh my goodness, it's The Killing. I see Sterling Hayden's face in there. It's not that. It's just, but to me, I don't know. It's like I want to add something more. Maybe it's the BS film school degree I have. Maybe I want to justify the price of it. I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, you're doing Command D right now, I see.
Yeah, I was duplicating. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one time I was like laying out a pattern, like Dan Phillips and I Zoom all the time, and we just screw around, and then I'm like doing this, and he's like, you could have just Command D'd that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh? What?
What?
Like, well, I don't want to be a smartass here, but let's make a symbol and then watch this. And he blew up like that, exactly what I was doing. It took him 30 seconds. I'm like, wow, dude, like you really made me feel stupid. Thank you. And it's funny because Dan's from Oceanside, California, but like his grandparents came as like Okies, during the Dust Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So people meet him and they're like, oh, where in Texas are you from? And he's like, no, I'm a second generation from Oceanside, California. And they're like, no, dude, you're from freaking Texas. But it's like, the influence of the Okie grandparents.
Mm.
I think Bakersfield, California, at one point they said that like 54% of the population there had been from Oklahoma.
Wow. That's a
They
lot.
all settled in Bakersfield. And if you go to Bakersfield, you're like, oh, wow, this is kind of like Oklahoma and Texas, but in California.
Wow. See, I wish I could have.
So good.
I wish when I lived in California, when I did my stint in California, I wish I could have traveled a little more and visited more of it.
What did you see? Did you see like Monterey or San Luis Obispo?
I just saw Los Angeles and San Diego. That was it.
Now, what did you think of San Diego?
I tell you what, like Beck and I hated living in Los Angeles, but we were like,
Who wouldn't though?
when we were considering, when we knew that we were like, when I started doing the Federal 52 in the very beginning, we knew that we were going to have to move. And one of the places that we were considering moving was San Diego because we liked it.
Oh yeah. You know, it's funny. It's like a lot of Europeans go to Del Mar or San Diego, and if you meet like Europeans traveling, they're always like, "Oh, you're from California." Like, yeah, San Diego's amazing. They don't want to say anything bad, but they never comment on like LA. They just say San Diego's so great.
Yeah. All right,
So good.
all right, so this shape right here, I'm going to take this shape. I'm going to duplicate this little thing that I like so much here. Let's bring it to about right there. So reflect it over. Okay. I want to reflect you. Reflect. There we go. I want to put you right there. And I want to line you up with this. Yeah. I like that. It's a little bit of
Oh, that's cool.
a Ghibli bit that wasn't there before, but is there now.
It makes it borderless. You know, as I'm saying with Smoke and Mirrors Be Through, for some reason it makes it borderless.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can cut that out. I mean, in your mind. That's very interesting how that does that.
Ooh. 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 Let me see here. Don't talk to me. Let me just see if this works. I just want to see if this works. Okay, where's the top of that? It's right there. Yep. Let me just cut this out right here. Oops. I want this cut out of that. We're going to widen this gap a smidge. And then we're going to add another one and make a small one for variety of scale. I have no idea what it's going to look like. Yeah. Let's see what that looks like. Duplicate it over here. Where was that shape that we were using? Let me look at this thing right here. I wonder if we could use this thing right here. You still there, Brad?
Oh yes, I am. You said don't talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. You may talk. You may talk again now.
Well, no, I'm sitting in suspense, Jackson.
I don't know. I'm just.
What tool are you using to scope? Is that the pen tool?
Yes. I am. At this point, I am experimenting, trying different things.
Dan Phillips advised me one time on Illustrator. He said, well, just click around on the tool thing and then hit shift on things and cool stuff will happen. I'm like, that's it, Dan? That's it? Because, I always just want to like up my game, like to make things quicker. He's like, yeah, just start hitting shift on the tools and you'll see some cool stuff. That was it. That's it. Everyone wants to know Illustrator. That's it. Just hit shift on tools. And, he's kind of right because I'll be doing it during the day and I'm like, what does shift do? Oh my God, I can't believe I can do that now.
All right, I want to match these. I want to match these angles right here.
I love that shape. I don't know what it is. It's like maybe he was like basil farming.
Yeah.
Or like poison ivy. I don't know. I just like it. I'm over meaning. I'm kind of post meaning.
Yeah.
I've already been through critical studies courses and film. I don't really need any more. But then, when it's done, Jackson, we can have a whole episode where we just like look at the printed one. I'm going to come out to Tennessee and we're going to look at this and we're going to eat Gus's chicken. And then I'm going to dissect it philosophically.
Oh, I can't wait.
I'm going to talk about what it means about Jackson's personal life, the way he's drawing. I'm going to be like, this is obviously moonshine withdrawal.
Yeah, this is moonshine withdrawal.
Are you still getting that great moonshine you showed me? Or whiskey, or what was it?
My mead?
No, not the mead. I know you do that. But when you first moved there, you were buying some kind of local alcohol.
Oh, Chattanooga whiskey. Yes, absolutely.
You know what's funny? What I admire about you is that like your decks used to say like, Austin, Texas, where you were at. But then immediately it switched over to like Chattanooga, Tennessee. Like you got an immediate loyalty to your new home.
Got to do it.
Was that hard for you as a Texan though to suck it up and say, nope, now it's Chattanooga, Tennessee?
Very much so. But but it was the first place outside of Texas that I really felt like, you know what, this could be my home.
I love Tennessee. I absolutely love Tennessee. I think it's one of the most beautiful states in the world.
Yeah, I mean, where I live is amazing.
Is it near the Smokies?
Yeah, we're like right at the foothills where it starts.
Because Dan Buck was asking me like a couple weeks ago. He's like, "Where does Jackson live now?" And I'm like, "In Tennessee." And he's like Nashville. I'm like,
ugh.
"No, it's a little place called Cleveland." He's like, "Hold on, let me look this up." And he's like, "Oh, that looks way better than I had imagined."
Oh yeah, and it's a very different feel than Nashville for sure.
I enjoy Nashville. I mean, I've always loved Memphis. I mean, I honeymooned in Memphis. I've been there a million times. Obviously, Memphis has some crime issues. It's a beautiful city. It's to me, it's one of the greatest cities in America. Just to visit at least once. The history, the music. Nashville is kind of like I don't want to say boring, but once you leave Nashville, it's like the most beautiful place in the world. Like where all the country stars used to live, kind of by like the Loveless Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
Area. I forget the name of it. Not Franklin. Franklin's beautiful, but it's like where Johnny Cash used to live. Those outskirts of Nashville.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that shape. I love that. It's a no-tan design to me. It's Masonic. It's Japanese. It's fascinating. Tennessee is one of my favorite states. It's funny that I helped my friend move from Round Rock, Texas to Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And, that drive, first, we left at like 4 a.m. So in the morning, we're stopping in Dallas, getting a coffee. And once you leave Dallas and you're heading out to that Texarkana, it is just brown and flat and nothing.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you see this like most beautiful looking place. And it's right when you cross the Arkansas state line. It's all green and there's like waterfall places, looking things. And
mm-hmm.
It's amazing. And then you stop at a Wendy's and you get some French fries in Little Rock. And then an hour and a half later, you're at Gus's Fried Chicken with the Resurrector.
With the Resurrector.
It's amazing. But it is funny though. Like, there's a lot of beautiful places in Texas, but it's funny how the beauty exponentially increases once you cross that Texarkana line.
Yeah.
Do you hike the Smoky Mountains?
We do. There's a places where actually on Wednesday. I'm really excited about it. On Tuesday, actually, where I'm taking my daughters. I took Claire when she was very little, but we're taking our daughters on our very first camping trip.
Oh, cool.
And we're going to a really nice state park just about an hour away from us. And we're really excited. I'm also excited just about taking a little bit of a break.
Oh, yeah. Have you heard of Blackberry Farm in the Smoky Mountains there?
Yeah. I think so.
I remember I had some kind of some food product of theirs when I was in Nashville, and I looked up Blackberry Farm, and it looked like heaven on earth. It's like I guess a resort in the Smoky Mountains, and it's quite pricey, and they have like chefs there that cook stuff. It looks great.
Oh, wow.
What about Dollywood? Have you ever been there?
I love Dollywood.
You've been there?
Yes, I was there when I was a kid. And my, my family and I, because I don't know if you know about Dolly Parton, she's a huge literacy advocate.
Oh.
And she created a thing called the Imagination, what's it called? The Imagination Library. And if you sign up, you should sign your girls up. Like, if you sign up, I can't remember what it is, but like she'll send you a free book like every month or something.
Oh, wow.
And
I had no idea. I'm going to go do that, later this morning.
And she talks like people have asked her like, if you were remembered for anything, Dolly, what would you want to be? What would you want to be your thing that you're remembered for? And she always says the same thing, that I helped kids learn to read.
Is it the Imagination Project you're saying?
It's called the Imagination Library. Let me see.
Dolly Parton. Man, I love that shape, man. That is unreal. I love Dolly Parton. You know what song I like of hers was Coat of Many Colors.
Yes, very much. Yeah.
I always thought the lyrics were great, and then when I heard her tell her story about how poor they were in the Appalachians.
Oh, yeah. And then the reason why I was talking about it was we had a deal with my kids that, if Claire read, I think it was like 50 books, and if Scarlett read 100 books, and like the smaller kind of like chapter reader type things, that we would take them to Dollywood. And they both, Claire finished, my older daughter, she's an avid reader, and she just eats through the books.
Same with my older girl. She goes into our walk-in closet, and she like has made kind of a little decorated corner for herself, and she just wants to be away from like her other sisters, and she'll just read for hours.
Yeah. And so Claire had finished like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then Scarlett just finished her 100th book. And the deal was, if they finished their books, we would take them to Dollywood. And so
you have them do book reports.
Oh, they do book reports for their homeschool stuff for sure.
That's cool. Now, does Dollywood have like roller coasters,
Mm-hmm.
like dark rides, like Pirates of the Caribbean type of things?
It's been 30 years since I've been, so I'm really not sure what they have. But
I gotta go. I mean, I love Dolly Parton.
Yeah, we're really excited.
Kind of the last of these people, like Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson. It's just a kind of a different era of performers. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Class acts. Like I went and saw Brian Wilson, and he comes out and he says, "Thank you so much for coming to see me," and it's appreciative. It's not like a middle finger, like I'm a legend. It's, hey, thank you.
Yeah.
The old days of show business.
The road shows.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at, amazing. It's unbelievable to me. It's got doodads.
Ghibli bits. We call them, in the gaming world, we call them Gerbils, or I can't remember what we called them. I don't know.
Could you go back to doing video game work again?
No. Mm-mm. I can't see myself doing anything else than design playing cards.
I love playing cards. To me, they're just like little movies, really. To me, it's like, Martin Scorsese had an amazing quote where they were asking him about like the passage of time, and then he was saying that a year didn't count unless he had made a movie. And they said, really? So you're saying like this? He's like, well, of course, like the years my daughters were born, sure. But no, a year really doesn't count unless I've had a movie that's been completed.
Yeah, I totally understand. Like, it's been a weird journey for me of just like I don't see myself doing anything else but designing playing cards.
Why would you? I mean, it's like when you stick to one thing and you get to be prolific. Why would you want to change?
And I think it's more of it was the first thing that, that was me, that I kind of found myself. And I don't want to sound artsy fartsy, but it was like the first thing in my life as an artist that I really found myself, and I found my kind of voice in that whole kind of, catalog of different stuff that was going on in art. And it was my first time that I ever found that.
Like you find your style or your voice, and it's not artsy fartsy. It's really true.
And the thing that I love about it is that, yes, I do have a style that people know me by, but there's so much, and especially because I'm not having to do what other people tell me to do. There's so much artistic freedom that I can do different styled stuff. It's like way different.
And also for you as somebody who can work so quickly, it's like really if you do like a graphic based deck that's kind of a not your best work. I mean, what's really the big deal?
Right. Yeah.
It's difficult working for in the creative world when you have too much direction. Like when you go into a video game studio and none of that's your vision. I mean, you have ideas, you have a style, but it has to fit an overall piece or it doesn't work.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to add some of these blinds into the center area here. Let's see.
So cool. Now, are you still allowed to reprint like the Scarlet deck, or is that off the table?
I asked them actually a couple of weeks ago if I could reprint, because they'd already let me do it once. I asked them if I could reprint those in some way, and I think she said that they would ask, but it's kind of one of those things of like, screw it, I'll just use the design and make a new deck out of it and reprint it myself. Because I'm now not tied to the Tally-Ho brand, I guess you could say, as I kind of was earlier on in my career when I was trying to make a name for myself, kind of piggybacking off of.
Well, the first time I had heard your name twice was actually Bill Kalush doing the Skull and Crossbones.
Mm.
Because we were in New York at Bill's place, and we were doing a project over there, and I remember him talking about it, and I said because he had the original one there, and I said, what do you mean this is redone? Of course I had never seen the original, know. And he's like, oh yeah, they don't have the plates. I hired this guy Jackson. He's got like the same skills as people did back then. It's amazing. And I'm like, and then I think Dan Buck's like, oh, he's the Federal 52 guy. That was like, I just always remember that deck. And I think Bill gave me like a limited edition one that maybe had a black tuck case.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of my favorite. I love it. I know that that's not your vision, that you were just kind of making a name for yourself, redoing the thing, but it's still awesome.
Yeah, but Bill, he's always been, when he's asked me to redo stuff, and he knows me, and he knows that if I'm not interested in something, there's not even any use doing it, because I'll be super undependable.
Oh yeah, absolutely true.
And he knows, and he was like, I want you to redo this, but do it the way that you would, do it in your style or whatever. And that's the same thing with the Jerry's Nugget. He asked me to redesign the Jerry's Nugget, and I was like, that sounds awesome, but I need to do it. I want to be able to do it in my way.
One of the strangest decks made in the last decade, by the way. And by you already know my love for it. I mean, I was texting you when it came out, like I got to get one, and you're like, well, I don't have any.
Which one?
The Jerry's Nugget.
Oh yeah, honestly, there's a deck. It's not necessarily strange, but I really like it. Let me go get it right quick. or at least I remember it being interesting. But honestly, I don't follow playing cards that much. This was a very recent deck that Bill worked on with a artist. Her name is Alexandra Llewellyn. Let me turn my lights on here so you can see it. She made 500 of them, of this one at least. So it's got like a little, can you see this?
Yeah.
Let me get it in the light a little better.
I see that.
Let me zoom this camera in so people can see it. I need to take this seal off right quick.
Very minimal.
Now look at this. It's got one foil gold tooth on the skeleton, on the skull head. You see that?
Oh, that's beautiful.
But then it's got like this really cool like chevron shape design.
Yes, love the pattern. Hey, that's great, man. I've never even seen that. There's only 500 of them?
Mm-hmm.
And are they reprinting it at all? Or
I don't think so. I think they're on her site.
That's beautiful. It's like, it really makes the skull three-dimensional. Of course, I love it.
And look at the type treatment on the indexes.
Was that an expert?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because when I saw the number 500, I knew that wasn't a U.S. playing card. Unbelievable. Yeah, that is a great deck.
And here's the quartz.
It forms a neck. Like a very thick neck, like a WWF style neck.
Yeah. Let's see what else is in there.
Is she American?
No. I don't want to. I mean, I think the quartz are a little bit weaker, but it just has a. I don't buy very many new decks.
Yeah, that's great. The quartz don't necessarily go with the back to me.
Yeah. And if you look at her, let me see. If I go, let me see. Alexandria Llewellyn. She's in London.
Oh, it's yeah. I mean, I love it. I see why you got it, and it is unique.
So she has like these really nice. Here's the signature playing cards, shop playing cards. She's got like this one right here, that's kind of got this no skull background.
Pricing on those?
£60 for the cheap one.
Oh.
£85 for the one that I have right here. And she still has them. And these are, and see, mine's gilded right here. They're all gilded. Well, at least this one is. But I think it's a cool deck.
I love it. I love the tuck, actually.
And the really cool thing is she also look at these matching, these things are 15,000 pounds, matching wood inlaid poker boxes.
Did Bill find her, or was she interested in playing cards?
I can't remember. I mean, in this photograph, they're using that's Kim Arrows right there. I can't remember how they got. And look at that. The edition number is carved into that gold tooth. It says 3 of 15 on the case. That's crazy.
It's cool.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting. And look at this. Look at this dealer coin. Like this gold. It's pretty cool.
The reason I'm saying the Jerry's Nuggets is the strangest deck is because one of my favorite decks is because it's something we all know. It's it's a famous back. Of course, I've seen it more than most people. I've seen it for 20 years over and over again. And then to look at your work on it, the little dingbats, that it's like a dowry design where it doesn't really work, and then you can't imagine it without it.
The interesting thing about that little side piece that I'm pretty sure you're probably referring to. Bill, he would go back and forth with me like, I don't know, I think we need to take that out. We need to take that out. And I was like, no, bro, you're gonna want that cowbell in there. And
Um,
we
the great Billy Stansel. She's awesome. She actually helped me get. I don't really collect cards, but I wanted those Jerry's Nuggets you did so bad that Billy Stansel actually sent me one of those Jerry Nuggets, and I have it. I mean, I have it open. I look at it all the time.
I think I need to get me one. I don't even think I've got one. I'm gonna bring
The
that
playing
line.
card community is so amazing. It's like, hey, look, there's another Argyle forming on the corner, the little tiny corner in there. You see that?
Yep. Yep.
Well, obviously you see it, but it's the playing card community is just so amazing. It's like every day I meet like all these people who, like I'm saying, Billy Stansel. Like I was just saying, oh, that's a rad deck. I don't know, like because I'll text Ricky Smith, who is very close to Bill,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be like, hey Ricky, do you got those Jerry Nuggets? He's like, no, I don't have one of them, and I'm like, oh no, I'm out of luck. And then there's always someone,
Yeah,
playing cards. I love the community. It's one of the best ever.
I concur.
But like I've mentioned before, I've always been a fringe guy, a fringe community, skateboarding, horror movies.
Mm-hmm. So if you see this original design, these angles right here, he does the over-under kind of Celtic knot thing. And that's kind of what I'm doing here with
Yeah,
these.
you did that on the first pass we did, and that's like what was my favorite element of it. Was
Mm.
actually that. I love it. It's old country-esque, as my grandpa would say.
Old country.
That's the old country. We don't care about that.
Huh.
I said, Papa, where are we from, our people? That's the old country, Bradley. We don't give a beep about that. If it was so great, we wouldn't have left. I'm like, oh, okay. That's great. Just was asking for some Ancestry.com before it existed, Papa. I'm going to write to Ancestry.com and say, we don't care about your site. It's the old country.
It's the old country.
Yeah, that's such an old man term. Like I use the term old country because I grew up with my grandpa and he used to say it. And like I'll joke around with like people that message me that are from the UK. I'll be like, I'll see their name and I'll be like, oh, where are you from? And this, and they'll be like, oh, I'm from England or something. I'll be like, oh, the old country, as Papa called it. They understand that term, but it's like young people are like, huh?
It's like when people from like Great Britain joke about, still calling the United States the colonies.
Oh, do they ever call it the colonies?
I've heard a
Like
few
old
people,
do.
huh?
Like old people in Britain probably call it that.
Yeah. I've heard a few people say it like that, and I think it's funny.
But then in Britain, you're like the colonies, and they're like, do you mean India, those islands off of like Florida? Do you mean like what do you mean, dude? We had everything.
Yeah.
And now all we have is like, and you always meet people that say like, oh, I learned how like people from other countries, and they'll say, oh, I learned how to speak English from television, and it shows you the reach of Britain, like controlling media and radio.
Yeah. Yep.
They like manufactured consent of their takeovers by controlling, language, media, transmission, technology. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's a slow burn.
I love that the nod, the over and under. What I love most about watching you do this is like when I looked at the Scarlet Back Tally Ho, which I saw when it came out, I honestly, just as a designer myself, I looked like, how is it done? Like I wanted to know technically how it's done, and for everybody watching to be able to see how it's done, where in the past someone like me who's in the industry doesn't really know how it's done. I mean, it's a gift. I mean, like I like to just see this, like, yeah, it's our deck, but it's not. It's like I'm watching, I'm learning, I'm watching. It's like watching Hitchcock direct a movie. It's like, of course, that he says, actually, Hitchcock didn't say cut. Do you know what he used to say?
What?
He loved, word games and puns. He used to say cat's feet.
Cat's feet?
Well, pause.
Okay.
Pause. So like that was a big joke that he would say to like Robert Burns or his, cinematographer was cat's feet. Pause. So it made you like be up on your game. Like, huh? What? Oh, okay. I got to speak Hitchcockian. I hope people like watch these not because like, oh, they can listen to my blathering, but they can like actually learn. Like, I mean, the first hour, of course, was just even interesting because I didn't know those artists. But you can learn, and not technically. I mean, you learn technically by doing, I think,
Mm-hmm.
but just learning thought processes and what works. And the most important thing I want everyone to take away from this is what a line insertion or deletion can do.
Mm.
It can make or break you, or it can spur another idea. Even if the move you make doesn't look good in hindsight,
Yeah.
it can still create another idea.
Yes.
That's why you can never be discouraged that like, oh, I failed, this looks bad, I need to get rid of it. No, you didn't fail. You need to just realize that it's now leading to step 2 and 3.
Correct.
I'm really not afraid to start over. Like, of course, not on this. I'm in love with this. I'm talking about like my own stuff. Like I say, I lay out a box a day, just to kind of like almost like exercise. I'll just like throw together like a pattern
Mm-hmm.
box, and like I just like learned so much. And then some of it like I think looks good, and then I look back at it 3 days later, and I'm like, I wasn't drinking. I don't know what happened. It looks bad. It looks bad, dude. Like some of the stuff looks so generic, like a toddler would have done it, and that's okay.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it. I really, it's not like it doesn't bruise my ego. Like I know what I can do. I know what I just like processes. I like learning.
Yeah.
It's also when you have kids, like you go through this process of being a child again, but as an authority figure. So like I want to make it clear to my daughter, like she's really good at softball, and like she'll strike out, and I can see that she's kind of bummed.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other coaches, I heard him say to the daughter that if she didn't hit, she was going to be grounded.
What?
And this was something. And so my daughter, I didn't hear him say that, but my daughter came to me and she said, hey, this guy said that. And I took her aside and I said, he's a coach, respected, but this is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. And when that person is 25 years old, they're not going to be playing softball because they're going to be so bummed out of the experiences that it wasn't positive reinforcement. So Kareen, my oldest girl, I
Mm-hmm.
said, if you strike out 3 times today, it's okay. We're still going to go get an ice cream cone after. Just have fun. And she's stoked to play like every day. Like, hey, Dad, can you teach me something new? Because she only has positive reinforcement.
Yeah. I feel a lot. I mean, my kind of my outlook, my perceived kind of bitter outlook towards sports is very much because of that kind of thing. Because I remember when I was a kid. Just it was Texas, it was football, and just how much time I spent on football and sports, and how much of that time was time that I was developing as a person and learning in like the most impressionable moments of my life, like the most impressionable times in my life, I was spending most of my time playing, sports.
But did you
When
have negative reinforcement about it? Like, oh, you're not good enough. You're not doing that right.
yeah, it's just like my parents. I mean, my dad, because my dad was a football coach. There was a lot of that, but there was also like this is the most important thing that there is right now.
But obviously, it's not.
When it's obviously not, and I think that so many, yes, absolutely, there's people that become professional athletes, but at the same time, the majority of people don't, and so many people. Then you have all these people that will go in life, and then they will transfer that kind of like, and like this is just all my own personal point of view, of just like if I could have started. And I'm not regretful because I think regret is.
Yeah, because it made you who you are today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Regret at the time made you appreciate what you're doing now.
Yeah, I don't regret it because I think regret is basically useless.
It is.
But I think to myself, if I could have started, I look at it more of reflection and how I raise my own daughters now, is if I could have started earlier with art, what I actually really love to do, and at the same time, what I ended up doing as a career, if I could have found that earlier through And part of that is just my parents and how they directed me. Now, and I want to say this, I want to make sure that's very clear. My parents, even though I came from a very sports heavy family, my parents were never, they were always very supportive of uh, my art and me doing art and that kind of thing. It wasn't like, oh, you're artsy fartsy, you better not do that kind of thing. But if I would have found art earlier and was able to explore that and then at the same time spend as much time as I spent playing football and practice on weekends and nights and summers and all that kind of stuff. If I would have been able to do that with art, like just where I could be now, technically and proficiently, uh, with my skills, I can't even imagine it. And so that's why, like, my daughter Claire, both of my daughters are very creative, and Claire's the drawer, and Scarlett is the maker. Like, she creates stuff with her hands, like,
That's the best.
like sculpting and like making things. But Claire's a drawer, and you know, we just try to, I told Claire, I said, as long as you keep drawing, I'll keep buying you pencils and like drawing books. And like the the level at which, like, say, like Claire, the level at which Claire is at now compared to my, she's almost 12, where Claire is at now, skill wise, and in her draftsmanship now compared to where I was at her age, like, she's like a good 5 years ahead of me where I was at her age.
But isn't that kind of the point of evolution? It's like I was talking to my kids the other day about photography and type creation, and then I told them I didn't know this till I was 20. You're 8, you're 5. Like where can you be at 20?
Absolutely. And I keep telling Claire, especially, it's like, if you love this, and if you really love doing this, not only are you going to be able to take over my company, but at the same time,
Which I
like,
hope she does.
huh?
I hope she does.
And I tell her, I said, if you keep doing this, because I don't, because she, I mean, because I'm like, we're not even talking about college. We're not talking about her going to college, anything
C
like that.
word.
Huh?
The C word.
Yeah, the C word. I'm like, if art is what you want to do, if you keep practicing it at the way that you are and the amount that you're doing it, by the time that you are at an age to where you are going to be like starting to make a living at this, you are going to be. We always joke. I always joke with my kids. I don't really joke with them. Like, I'm also serious. I always say things like, "There's two types of people in the world. There are the rulers, and then there are the servants." and and I don't say that like kind of like in a draconian sense of the word, but it's like, you have the people that are the creators, uh, and the people that are creating the new stuff, and then you have the people that are the servants, in the sense that they're not creating new stuff. They're just going with the flow. They're just consuming. They're consuming what is being put in their face. Now you've got to have both, but I tell Claire, I was like, if you keep practicing at what you're doing, by the time you get to an age where you are going to start a profession at this, not only you're going to be able to take over my company if you want to, but you're going to be able to a point where you're going to be proficiently good enough that you are going to be already past all of those servants that have spent years and years of their life playing sports when they really wanted to be an artist, or when they really wanted to be a creator, but they spent years of life doing this or doing that when they could have been perfecting what they love to do anyways. And that whole kind of saying, like, do what you're passionate about, which I think is, I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of touchy feely cat postery to me. Uh,
Hang in there.
you hang in there. Hold on, I got a phone call right quick. 1 second.
That's very true, Steve J.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Um, um, and and it may be kind of like it may be kind of a jaded outlook on life. But I always tell Claire especially, I'm like, and it's not so much being competitive, it's just like life is about life is about winning. And it's not so much
Yeah, that's not
winning,
competitive.
huh?
That's not competitive at all.
It's not so much about winning in the sense that you're beating other people, but life is about winning against mainly like yourself. And because more because um so many people can't achieve what they want, not because they can't beat other people, but because they can't beat themselves, and they can't
That's the truest thing ever.
get past their own head and their own mindset.
Yes.
And so and I always tell Claire, I'm like, life is it's about winning, and life is nothing but a big game. And as long as, they can't eat you, I always say that they can't eat you. It's a game, and you have to learn to be able to play it. And until you learn to like treat it like a game, then all you're gonna do is just you're gonna consume everything that the rulers are giving to you. And I don't say rulers in the sense of like government, politics, that kind of thing. I'm just saying in the sense of the people that are creating the things, you're just gonna consume them, which and I think that that's very specific. And I'm saying all this in the context of art and design and illustration and owning a business that is art and design, kind of a thing. I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. I'm in the same position every day of my life.
Um, oops, no, but going back to the sports thing of just like, um, it's just you gotta. I mean, I'm gonna make us bigger so we can talk for just a little bit. Here we go. So yeah, no. So on the design, before we're finished, we're not done, but uh,
I would like to continue this next week.
yeah, we can totally continue it.
I want this one, and then we take it further.
Yeah, we'll need something in this kind of like space here, this negative space. We'll put
Oh
something in
yeah.
there, and then what I'm probably going to try to do is these little kind of like curvy tails that are right here, whatever these things are. I may try to create something that's kind of, in this kind of kite shape that's similar to that. I'm not sure, but there's definitely more that we need. But I'm really liking. One second. What's up, babe? Oh, the coffee bucket. It's in the closet. Just go in that closet. It's in there. No, the big closet around the corner. You know, but there's definitely some more stuff. But I like the shapes and the feel, and I think
And
it does
then
a.
once we have like we need some kind of uh closure shape to suggest the two big triangles is the design problem I see that we
Mhm.
will solve.
Yeah, I mean, we could easily do that with like, watch this. This may not be the answer, but could be something as simple as.
We need to get the eye moving less on the oval, more on the
Mm-hmm.
diagonals,
Gotcha. Let me show you.
which is not difficult in this. It will happen organically as it is, but I'm just kind of having a prelude to what will be in the final, what will be the design problem to solve.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely I want to keep going. I want to do a Don's Really Light Saturday version, Jackson, and complete this back.
Watch out.
And I love how real Jackson is here. He's talking about coffee pots, and then one time he was getting some sourdough out of the oven.
Yeah, well, Claire, we were talking about her. She comes in here because it's 8:40, and my wife is upstairs. She's pacing, and she's like, when is Jackson going to come up here and make my coffee? Because I make her a latte every morning with our King's Wild coffee.
That's so cool. That's what it's all about, man.
We get our new coffee bags, our new designed coffee bags today.
Are those the ones you showed me?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Even doing something as simple as this right here starts breaking into that shape. Okay, Control S, sweet.
This is amazing.
I think we're on the right track. And here's the thing.
We're gonna continue this, and we're gonna do this one next week.
And here's the thing, Brad. Like next week, we could decide this is a crow, as my dad would say.
We can, but like I'm pretty instinctive, especially after being through this. Like now, we actually did like a first version of this that Jackson didn't even save or he lost. So and then the last time we were just throwing ideas to kind of get a shape around what the themes were, which completely don't work and are being, I don't want to do it. I want to do this with Jackson, and yeah, it's not Crow. I see this as the road forward. This is the engine that's starting.
Good. Let me see if there's anything I'm missing over here on the chat. Got quite a few people over here.
The file for this, I don't need the full Illustrator file, but I want to do this like I do. I walk around with my phone and like I look at it as if it's a card in my hand.
Yeah, let me save it right quick and I'll send you the link.
Awesome. The time of our lives, folks. I'm going to click like that. I like this video actually.
That's good. I'm glad that you're doing that.
I really like this. It's funny. I like this video, Jackson.
Thank you.
I'm not going to click thumbs down, I promise.
All right, I'm going to email this link to you.
Hey, how crazy is this? The one Don's Really Light we did, not the ad card or whatever. It was 42. It was the Jackie Robinson, and now it's 76.
Let's see here.
How time flies.
Bro.
So Tuesday, you're taking the day off.
I'm taking all next week off.
Next Friday, you're taking it off?
Most likely.
What about Monday? What are you doing Monday?
Taking it off.
What about...
this may have to be the next week because I'm going camping next week and I'm taking...
Sunday 0.5 though. Like, is there a Don's Really Light midnight edition so then you can just like drive without sleep?
Oh yeah, maybe. That usually involves more mead though. And my line work gets a little bit wavy. Link.
I'm honored that this is the last thing on your mind before you go to a vacation.
Yeah. Well, I gotta go to work today.
It's great.
All right, man. Well, it's been fun.
It's been amazing. Send that over to me, and I will
just emailed it to you. You're good to go.
Okay. Jackson did it. I mean, Jackson, if he's motivated, he'll do it right away.
Absolutely. If I'm not, I'm undependable.
If he's not, don't waste your time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Well, appreciate it. Always love our conversation.
Absolutely.
And I'll just we'll get back together, and I can't wait to start this up again.
But it's going to be started up again right when you get back. There's not going to be a delay. This is going forward.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, man. Talk to you later, Brad.
Have a great vacation. I'll talk to you later.
All right, see you.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, Don's Really Light crew. That's it for me today.
Take care, guys, everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Awesome. All right. See you.